Okay, call to order the planning commission meeting on May 12th, 2021. Can I get a motion to adopt this evening's agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approval of the minutes from the February 10th and the February 24th, 2021 meetings. Anybody have any changes or anybody like to make a motion to approve as? Get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? First issue, item number 4, revised Purnell Crossing South, PUD.
Oh, sound. Cover Purnell Crossing, please.
And y'all.
Good evening.
Are you ready?
Yes, sir, go right ahead.
You're changing, requesting to revise the site plan from what was previously approved. Last time we came in front of everybody, we had 20, no, I'm sorry. Last time we came in front of there were 7 existing single families and 19 approved single families. Since then, when we came back last time, we did 2 lots over in phase 4, and that's subdivided, and we had the balance of it left back to the, I guess it's kind of to the east, really. We had a Court A coming running around, and it looped right by lot 9. And we really didn't like the way it looked, so we reconfigured it into what you guys see here. It shows Court A coming around into a cul-de-sac, which reduces the number of trips by lot number 9. It also gives the road to keep going straight through the intersection around the stormwater management pond. And we plan on working our way from Court A and on around to the north. It's just the revision of single family lots. They're smaller, a few more of them. I think it went from 19 that were approved single families. We sold 2, and now it's 28.
But it's much less than it was initially.
Oh, way much. And Mr. Cosby, we have got on here an easement that once we get around to lot 35 and that sidewalk's installed down there, we'll install that 10-foot wide path to get us through to Purnell Crossing North.
Okay. So I'm not really following, I left my package at home, I looked at it, but how many less lots are you gonna have?
It's not less, it's 9 more.
9 more.
Mhm.
Do you have a set of the plans, Pete, to look at? I'll give you one.
At these, right?
I'm trying to see which one.
These are marked previous and proposed. You can see.
I got that.
You got it?
I gave you.
Okay.
You see the previous one, you see how you come down Prospect Drive, you make a right-hand turn on 4A is the only option you have.
Well, I can't see Prospect Drive because it's so small. I'm trying to.
Okay, it's the main road that's already in. And it runs in front of the cottages, goes on further to the 2 lots. They're building a single-family home on right now, and that's completed down to there.
Okay. This is the old one, right?
Yes, that's the old
I
one.
got this like-
So the house is being built on lot A right now?
Yep. No, I'm sorry, I think it's on lot 9. Let me see what you got. That is new. That's what they prepared now.
Lot 9 is. No, that's exactly what it's being built on.
And 8 is right behind it.
And they won't live. In magnifying glass.
8 is just now permitting, they're starting permitting.
How big are those lots?
They're about 30
You guys should have a big.
I got it. You told me you guys were canceling tonight, so I didn't read it.
No.
Okay.
Here.
He just didn't want to show.
Man, I'm okay.
You
I'm good.
I got the little line. The layout just worked a whole lot better, and I think the size of the lot is better too.
So if you're gaining 9, are you losing 9 somewhere else?
No, 8 and 9 are both being built on.
No, you said you're gaining
They're
9 lots.
right there, they're all in the same footprint. That's what was there before, with all the single-family lots you see.
So, right. But, so in previous, you got north, right? You just cut, north does not have it now, right?
Where's that?
On the previous, in September 11th.
Right.
Well, 2019.
Right.
You had the north was.
Well, that's there, you're gonna see that next.
Okay.
They're changing that, that's not gonna be.
Okay, all right.
I don't want to live
So
that.
you're gaining 9 more on the same.
What's that?
He does.
Yeah, well, you're gaining 9 in the same footprint. So the half-acre lots are going down to between a quarter and a third.
Okay, so how many EDUs do you have total?
Allocated right now, there's 29. I didn't pay any rate of service on them, and I got paid
Uh-huh.
26 is what this is gonna take.
Okay. So you don't have like an allotment of all your holdings there?
Yeah, I'm
Is there
paying-
ever like a number of EDUs
Yeah,
that you had?
paying for them every month. Yeah, matter of fact, I think I'm.
And then a limit, was there an upper limit?
Yeah, every year I'm picking a few off. There's 64 total we've been paying on. Out of that, 29 of them are allocated to the hospice home, which is, this is on, plus a little remnant of that.
Okay.
Yeah, so they'll knock 30 off when doing this.
Okay.
It'd be nice to stop paying that.
And the taxes.
Yeah, that second layout's just much better because the trips one might be so much less.
Very easy space.
So what lot numbers are the gaining lot numbers?
Whoa. Okay, no.
That's hard
Yeah,
to
they
say.
all got renumbered.
That's hard to say, Pete.
It's 10 to, how much, 35 maybe? Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, initially it was up to 24, and now it's 35, and they got, the numbers all got
Yeah, that's
shifted.
no, there you go.
What's the reason for the change?
Well, basically what happened is, I don't want that road, see, the road in the previous one, he came up to the pond, there's an intersection there, a 90-degree turn right, came down to a ridiculous-looking cul-de-sac that had to be put in because of the configuration, another cul-de-sac down further, and then it came around, which means all the traffic had to go by lot line in the whole development, which is just, didn't make any sense. A lot of people said, well, that's just too much lot for me, that I chose to. Okay, so we made the lots smaller, and we have 2 road frontages now rather than just having 1. So you can put 2 on the right-hand side of there, you're only putting 1 along the pond, but you gotta dig the pond anyway to do the development. So it's, and it, hey, it's a decent feature looking across the street of the pond. And everybody likes that.
Now, this is still less than you had at one time, right?
Absolutely.
Yes.
You gotta maybe lop off a whole 2 stories off 2 buildings.
Yeah, then somebody want a huge lot or something like that.
Yeah, knock it down another story.
Thank
How many stories are there?
There's 4 now, and we're, no, there's 3 now,
There's 3
there's
now.
4.
Tell them to be quiet. Tell them it's your job.
Want to lop off another story?
You know, we got another revision problem.
We can count on
It'll be down the
that.
road.
We can count on that.
I don't have any questions.
you. Would you bearings? Okay. Anybody have any questions? Would anybody like to make a motion to approve the changes?
Make a motion to approve.
The second? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Thank you all.
Thank you.
See you in 2 years.
You want me to stress it out next time?
Good luck.
A revised Purnell Crossing North.
Gentlemen, if you just introduce yourself for the record for a minute.
Steve Engel, Mr. Design.
What's
Cox, SBN Commercial Real Estate. All right, good evening, everyone. As I said, my name is Wesley Cox with SBN Commercial Real Estate. It's been a while since I've been in front of you, but the last time I was in front of you, I was handling the disposition of the Burial Select facility, as most of you guys know it. So that was a long, interesting transaction, but done several other projects in the town, like bring Burley Oak to town, we handled the brokerage of that transaction, and currently trying to fill up the old Apple Drug. So if you guys have any feedback or ideas on that, I'm all ears, yeah. So, on this particular project, I'm in the brokerage on it, but also as a consultant for the purchaser of the project. You're well familiar with it. So the reason we're here today is essentially what we've done is we've taken the existing approved site plan and we've tweaked it to make it a little bit better. And I know you've seen it, but I'm going to just go through kind of the bullet points quickly on what those tweaks were. So the first thing we did was we took it from 36 approved units and we reduced the density. So everybody likes to hear that, or at least most people like to hear that. We reduced it by 2 units, so now down to 34 units. So that was the first major change that took place. The second thing we did was probably the biggest noticeable change. You know, riding through there at a completed project, you're not going to notice 2 less units from a physical standpoint, but what you will notice is that the original approved plan, and I don't think you have that with you today, or I don't think we provided it, but if you picture yourself coming down Sunlight Lane into the project, that road is finished at this point, and you're pulling into this site, the original plan had you looking directly at the back of that center row of units. So what we did, what Steve did, with his help, he designed it. So now when you walk in, you're going to see a much more, not walk in, drive in, you're going to see a much more aesthetically appealing project where you're going to be looking at the front of the units. What you have up there is, okay, yeah, that's previously approved. Thank you for pulling that up.
That's the previous.
Yeah, thank you. So you can see right there, you'd be pulling into that cul-de-sac, looking directly at the back of a property. What you have in front of you on the drawing that Steve provided is now you're going to be looking directly at the front of a project or front of the building. So from an aesthetic perspective, it's going to be much more attractive because that's where you're going to see all of the kind of the bells and whistles on the project, which we'll get into here on the next tweak that we did, which we changed the overall look of the units, which I think you should have the colored elevation drawing in front of you or with you today. So picture driving into it, and you're going to look at the back of the building with no shutter, no nothing, just plain windows and in the back of the building. Now you're going to be looking at that when you drive into it. So obviously a much more aesthetically appealing situation. So those are the 3 major, well not major, but those are the 3 tweaks that we made to the existing approved site plan. A couple other notes that I just thought I'd share with you today. As you may or may not know, it's under contract with a builder developer. Just so you know who that builder developer is, you may be familiar with their name from Sussex County. The company is Insight Homes. If you're not familiar with that name or the company, they're built, his whole model is to build energy efficient homes. So he's received over 24 awards locally and nationwide for his energy efficiency. He's recognized by the U.S. Department of Energy. He's won Green Builder of the Year in the entire United States. And we have this right here in our backyard. So this is someone that takes his profession very, very seriously. Of course, there's a lot of benefits that come with all this. Number one, he's doing his part, if you care about that, lessening his environmental footprint. In addition to that, really where the savings comes in, or the true benefit is to the homeowner or the occupant of the property in dramatically reduced electric bills or utility bills in general. So I want to give you an idea of who's going to be developing and building the actual project. And then finally, the other, not other change, but what's going to be happening with the management of the project once it's up and going is it'll be fully professionally managed. It's not going to be, so he won't be managing it as owner, builder, developer. It'll be professionally managed by my company. We manage currently about 3 million square feet of commercial space on Delmarva. Including in that, we manage other residential multifamily properties. And I brought one actually today, another exhibit I wanted to show you just as an example of another project they just completed to show you the kind of the quality of it. So the benefit to that, you may be thinking is, or asking, number one, there's going to be a person or a company that someone can call. So whether it's a resident of these units or a neighboring resident of the owner-occupied units, they'll have a professional that they can call and speak to, whether it's a question, a complaint, or what have you. That's what we do. That's what my property management division does. So big benefit as opposed to just kind of a, hypothetically, a local owner where you're calling the guy at their gal cell phone and they're on vacation, you can't reach anybody, and there's a major issue. I mean, there's going to be none of that. It'll be fully professionally managed.
You gonna have an on-site office?
No, it's too small of a project for on-site. Yeah, everything's managed. Everything that we manage is done in our office. We have about a 10,000 square foot office where we house all the employees. So, but it's a 24-hour, 24/7 management service that we provide.
You're saying all these are rental units?
Yes, as designed, as previously approved. Yeah. So
Dave,
again,
do we have the old elevations? Excuse me. Do we have the old elevations for?
I don't think
we're
we
gonna look
did.
like, or-
I don't think we got them for the packet, no.
I have them on my phone. Not that that helps you, but
You guys want, to see the
So-
difference between what was?
Are they part of the HOA? So I live in Hardline Crossing. So, yeah, so, you guys, would this be part of our HOA?
so my understanding, and you may be more familiar with the previous.
I don't have an answer, I'm not setting up my
Approval, okay. So my understanding, and that's probably a better question maybe for Dave and or the current owner, Justin, who went through this original process. My understanding is no.
Right.
Mine too.
That was the original, but how could we share an HOA when we have one road coming in? Seems very odd when you have a community and you have one central road, which is Sunlight Lane, where you have your first 27 houses and then 34 in the back, where it's not part, and I get it, because we're saying 10 years ago Ryan Hems built it, blah, blah, blah. I get the issue. But we're talking about a shared use area, not shared use, but whatever, coming through the street, everything. How is that being split with the issues of time, repair, et
Well,
cetera?
Steve might be able to answer this for me as far as I think Sunlight Lane is, of course, I'm not familiar with this jurisdiction in the sense of how this is done, but typically that would be dedicated back to the city as a city street. Is that not?
To be honest, I don't know. I mean,
Dave's saying, okay.
It was the back in town.
Yeah, town maintains the road.
Yeah.
It's a town road now. Sunlight Lane is a town road now.
Yeah.
So we would essentially have, within one development, an HOA and a rental group in the back.
Correct. Yeah. And I'm glad you brought that up because the examples that I brought today, I don't know how I want to hand these out to you, but again, you also, yeah, thank you. I got 9 copies, I think, maybe 8. So the reason I brought that today is really 2 reasons. One, so you can see an existing product that the builder just completed. You can see a very attractive, yeah, I'll just wait. Last got a copy. So that's a completed project that very, almost exactly like this, Matthew. If that was or it is, a owner-occupied project that was originally developed by Ruark Builders. And then, of course, 2007 and 8 happened. What happened after that is it went just like this project, it went undeveloped. He came in, purchased the remaining 88 units, so much bigger scale, triple the size of this, and it's dealing with the same exact questions, same exact issues. So we've been able to successfully navigate those conversations, accommodate the current owners, because they're all owner-occupied units up until these 88 units. So when you drive into the project, and it's right behind the center of Salisbury, by the way, it's called Parsons Lake. It's beautiful, you can buy it anytime, great setting. When you drive in, you hit the owner-occupied units first, and then the rental units. Arguably, the rental units look better, because they're newer, they're more modern. But that's where it comes back into having it professionally managed too. So we've been able to help any current occupant of the owner-occupied side address any questions, any issues. Obviously, there was a lot of concern, just like 2019 when this site plan was approved. I understand there was a lot of concern. We've helped address that with this other project in Parsons Lake. So on top of that, when you're going to have a rental amount of this much, you're only going to attract a certain type of renter, so to speak. So it'll be on par, rental amounts will be on par with like Oceans East. I'm sure you all are very familiar with that project. It'll probably be a little less, frankly. They're up to $2,000 a unit from our
Must be
website.
affordable housing.
Not
what we were told?
I don't know. I'm not part of that project.
That's what we were told. Affordable
No,
housing.
they always said it was market rate.
Yeah.
It's subjective.
So, yeah,
They never said it was affordable or workforce housing, they said it was market rate.
Is there a construction lane going to be used during this process?
I don't have that question, or I don't have that answer today. Yeah.
And this has nothing to do with the apartments. This is strictly just the townhouse portion of this.
Strictly
So that
just that.
project is a whole other bag,
That's a whole nother site plan
a
review.
whole other issue.
Yeah.
Because I mean, that's the one that's causing all the drama with the
Is it?
community. Just a bit.
Okay. Yeah, and I'd love to talk to you further because now that you brought that up, we as in he is pursuing
Sure.
that part. So again, just some background more on this particular deal. We had both sites under contract, and then COVID happened, and it derailed a lot of things, including that contract. What we then did is come back and we structured it into a two-phase contract, this being the first phase of the contract. Now, we don't have any legal rights to the other project, but we have a written agreement now that's being exchanged back and forth. So since you brought it up, I just thought I'd disclose it, that it is being pursued, but again, by the same person. And again, he takes his profession and what they do extremely seriously because, well, for a lot of reasons, that's what he does. So he can't afford bad reviews, if you know what I mean.
Back on February 13th, part of the agreement when everything was going down was that there wouldn't be Section 8 or any subsidized housing that was going to be imposed on the PUDs with a modification. I went back, I was reading through everything.
Okay.
Is that being pushed through to this, the original agreement? That there wouldn't be any subsidized housing allowed?
There will
in
not
this?
be.
No, I would make it as another motion.
Okay, so I mean,
If
back in
that's our
February 13th,
intent.
that's fine, I would like that included with it. Because that was one of the big sticking points back in February 13th
Yeah.
that I think
We addressed
at
that
least
too.
our community would like to see.
100%. We addressed the same thing in the other project in Salisbury, and the project doesn't work financially
Sure.
that
Oh,
way.
I'm not sure you can encumber that legally because,
Yeah.
I feel like I remember this from 2 years ago, the same issue coming up.
but I'm talking about state and federal law.
No, I remember, I think you mentioned this 2 years ago, and it was mentioned in the notes, and you were saying there was an issue with this.
I would not make it a motion because I don't think it would be a legal motion.
Okay.
I think at the time, and we've had it with other projects in town also, that the developer, the management company, usually the only assurance they can give us to that is that the credit application and the screening process for their tenants takes that into account. But if you can afford to rent out of pocket, whatever your salary is, but you get assistance from the government for your rent, they can't tell you that's a disqualifying reason to be a tenant. They cannot. That's against federal law. So I'd be careful to not make that a condition of a motion.
Troy, do you know the answer to that?
I think he's right. Yeah, he's spot on.
Even a blind squirrel.
Clock.
Yeah, I can tell you, we pre-screen every tenant, whether it's residential or commercial. We have an application process. Not only is it a credit report and financial application, it's also a background check as well. So I won't pretend to know all the answers on approval and not approval, because that's a little bit, well, that's not what I do. But it is a screening process, and from the economical standpoint, it doesn't work, taking any type of subsidized.
Right.
Yeah.
And then is this roundabout, so right now the school bus comes down 346 and the kids are waiting there. Do you know if that roundabout is big enough for a school bus?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
It's big enough for a fire truck.
I mean, because really, I see the kids that are waiting for the bus. It's not the best, because it's not a huge entrance and exit to Purnell Crossing. And the kids are there in the morning, and no one's wide awake at 7 a.m. when they're leaving for work.
So they wait out by the entrance?
Yeah, and I don't know if they might still have to, I don't know, but I was hoping that at least if the school system got it and there was an option, the school bus could make that turn.
We'd be completely okay if all of the neighborhood children wanted to hang out by that cul-de-sac.
Sure.
I mean, we're going to be as cohesive as possible, you know, just like with the other project. By all means, matter of fact, I drove through there on my way here. There was like 4 kids playing in the street.
Yeah, we have
You know,
kids now.
and we expect the same. I mean, these are going to be families just like you guys.
Right.
You know, these families. Well, they may not be families, but likely there'll be some families in there with children, and they'll be paying, you know, anywhere from $1,500 to $1,800 a month, give or take. And I expect it, from a look and feel of it, outside of the aesthetics of how this will look a little bit different, it'll look and feel like a community. Yeah. The other thing, it's not on here. Steve and I talked about this a little bit. I don't know if this is something for this board or for permitting, but in the center of that cul-de-sac, we were planning on, at least conceptually, putting some type of a nice professional kiosk sign. And we'll take the feedback from the adjacent development as well, whether they like the idea, whether they don't like the idea. So, you know, one concept could be like, well, maybe they love the idea because then it'll show true separation, or at least give the image of true separation. If they hate the idea, then it's not imperative. I just want to bring it up.
Yeah. Do you know the estimated timeline, like from groundwork to ready to go, you know, finished construction? Because I mean, I just look at it, if I was in building C1 on the end or H, everyone knew that this was eventually going to happen, development was going to happen. But I mean, if I was them, I'm in the first group, so it's this barely. I won't deal with it too much. Thank God. But I mean, are we talking 8 months?
Well, site
All the
work.
site plans, I mean, all the construction documents are approved at this point, so it's really just dependent, it's really dependent on getting this plan reapproved, and then,
I guess I meant really the construction phase.
Physical construction.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think 8 months is probably, again, I'm not a contractor, but I think 8 months is probably a very good guesstimate. Part of the work they have to do here is remove existing infrastructure, or reroute, is that the better word?
there's some existing infrastructure that's gonna have to come out. But I know this developer, he's probably gonna want to start probably right away.
Uptime everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so, and should be completed, I think, within a year.
So, and he's extremely motivated to get it done as quick as possible.
Even with lumber prices right now?
I know.
They are still
Trust
going
me.
like gangbusters.
Really?
Trust me.
Good for them.
But he has different purchasing power
Yeah.
than me or you or most people, maybe except Troy, I don't know. He has, you know, a lot different purchasing power than the average person. So his pricing is a little bit different, but it's, the timing is also about interest rates. He's carrying it, obviously, upon settling all that carrying cost. And once he starts, he needs to go. Now, what they did in Salisbury, the one thing that's not decided upon yet is in Salisbury, that's a lot more units. So what they did, that was set up into basically call it like 4 circles. It was 4 pods, if you will, and each pod had 4 buildings. He did one section at a time, so 4 buildings at a time, because it just made sense, because that's the way that it was laid out. Likely the same thing here, except we'll do 1 building at a time. You know, so the framers get done, they'll move on to the next. When framers are done, they'll move the trim.
So it'll all be done in that year timeframe.
Yeah, that is 100% the goal, because it's only 34 units. They want it completed and rent collecting as soon as possible.
Do you guys know the construction hours in Merlin? I only say this, I mean, this is going to get read, people in that community are going to read it. Once again, this is things I really want to know.
Yeah, no, I don't know.
Dave, do you know?
I do. It starts at 7 a.m., you mean for the noise ordinance?
Yeah.
7 a.m. Till 9 p.m., but we rarely ever see that.
Weekdays.
Weekdays, and Saturday is 7 to 5.
What happened to the original, the owner, the kid that said this was his life stream and he was going to sell it?
You have to ask him. I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth.
Okay.
He's still there. I mean, I talked to him today.
Well, his head was going to pop off when I asked him that question 2 years ago. I was wondering if his head's still on.
You did ask that question. I have one thing I need to read into the record.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
Um,
We're ready to have some questions.
With these Facebook Live meetings, we take public comment or questions or input up to 12 noon, the day of the meeting. For this particular case, we had one, it's a couple of questions from town resident Marie Valong of 400 West Street. She asked, in regards to the Purnell Crossing revisions and construction, are the roads maintained by the town or by the homeowners association? We've already answered that tonight. That's a town road. Next question, is this something that is apparent to the buyers? I believe so, because we went through that on the previous go-round, previous approval. How many homeowner associations are involved with this development? Again, I think we've answered that already. There is a homeowners association currently in place with the 27 units closer to Route 346, and this will be a rental community. We won't have an HOA. It's done by private management. And the last question was, are the building plans identical to those that were previously approved? And I also think we've already answered that. They are not. There's fewer buildings, fewer units. And I've seen, comparing this to the older elevations, it's a different look. You know, it's an improved look. So those are the questions from Marie Valong.
Chris, the one thing I will answer now that I've had a second to think about it regarding the current owner. He's a residential home builder, as you may or may not know. This year he's had a bit of a rough time with material costs increases, and
He's had enough.
that could have played a factor in it. I think the process to get to the point that he did took a lot out of him. And he's a family man, and I think maybe to your point, between all of those factors combined, he's focusing on his family and his primary business, which is the residential construction.
I may be wrong, but concerning Section 8, I think that's something a rental company applies to qualify for through the government to be able to do that. I don't think you can deny a tenant if he gets rental assistance from the county or somewhere else, you know, but certainly I think in the motion we should include that the company resident, the owner of the rental properties or the company do not apply for any kind of Section 8 or subsidized housing.
You are right. You have to make that application for it. Yeah. So that is the homeowner or the property owner's choice.
You don't mind that being part of the motion, that you wouldn't do that, right?
Correct.
Anybody have any questions?
Matt, I just have a question for you. You live out there.
Yeah, sure.
The elevations, you think that they're in keeping with,
I mean, it's a different look. I don't think it's a bad look.
We added the stone, by the way, to try to offer that aesthetic because you guys have brick.
Yeah,
Yeah, so.
yeah. I mean, it's definitely different. I think it looks good personally. I'm colorblind, no style, so I really wouldn't get this in my wheelhouse.
Be part of
Like I said, I mean, out of all the options, I think, because this development is eventually going to happen at some point, whatever. Inside Homes, I mean, I've seen a lot of their work in the past. You know, sometimes you just need to accept it and go with the best option you have. And that's what I see here is, you know, it's a good company coming in with good design. And once again, this isn't the apartment side where the big battle is going to be anyways. So, I mean, everyone knows that these townhouses are coming, and we want townhouses, so I don't think you'll see a lot of
Berlin
complaints.
certainly needs the rental inventory, that's for sure.
That's for sure.
We're lacking severely.
Yes.
I've talked to those Chinese folks, and you're right. I've talked to those Chinese folks, and you're right.
Yeah.
They can't build them quick enough, and they're obviously a much higher elevated rental cost. Of course, you get the frills with the nice pool and the clubhouse, but here, everybody gets a garage. So that was a big discussion point. And I personally was 100% adamant on keeping it, especially for families that come in. Really what it provides is extra storage. But it's a huge benefit, and it doesn't cost extra. So I think in other projects you have to pay extra for that option. Now the apartment side does have that, but that's not what we're
But
talking about.
there's no amenities here other than garages over there.
That's correct.
So these galloping hordes are gonna be all running through town and might cross my front yard looking for something to do all day. That's what there's a lack of, some open space and something for them to do. But that's up to the town fathers to open another park, I guess that's what they got the Heron Park for, or whatever it is.
Well, since we're on elevations and you pass this around, you know, there is, to me, and I like a garage, believe me, there's a huge difference in the looks of these versus that. It looks like people live in these things. It looks like cars live in those things. It's hard to even see the front door. It's like, it's not welcoming at all. You know, the garage is stuck out, like,
That's
here I am.
intentional. Yeah.
I get it. To me, as aesthetically, you know, it looks like a celebration of the car rather than a place where people live. And it's clearly not any tradition that we want to push, is putting garages in the front of a house in a traditional town.
Yeah.
I understand why you did it and all that.
Well, we did it because
I'm
that's
making
what
a
was
comment.
approved before.
I'm just making a comment about elevation since we were talking and you passed this out,
Yeah.
which made that look bad. So,
Yeah, so when you inherit a broken project,
I get it.
and I appreciate your feedback because there's going to be more of these, not necessarily here, but
That's
other
why I'm
places.
saying it now.
We inherited that broken project, and what the goal is, again, for the timeliness of speed, is to not modify the footprints. So he inherited that.
I get it.
Yeah.
I'm just,
This is what we inherited on this. So it's basically the same setup where the front door is set off back. That's obviously done for shelter and cover. Sorry, it went black, but we tried to minimize the impact of what was previously approved, partly to create this disruption. But then we tried to tweak to make it prettier.
That's what we have now. That's what we have now.
it looks better, but, you know, it's just,
It is, when you're not dealing with a blank canvas, it's harder.
I get it.
Yeah.
And this doesn't have anything to do with, are we still trying to connect Purnell Crossing, Prospect Drive all the way back there? Does this have anything to do with that? Yes?
Yeah, I mean, these guys have got a 10-foot walkway going from the corner of the cul-de-sac there where I'm putting.
Not-
a 10
not- not-
I don't want a car,
Not vehicle.
yeah, but I can then walk all the way down.
There's,
Okay,
there's a 10-foot dedicated spot.
there is.
Yeah.
Okay.
On our side, I know they put it on theirs too, I thought.
And, okay, so that area can now connect.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, that's been a big one in our area.
So let me address that real quick, because that just came to light this week. And we have updated the site plan to allow for a 10-foot pedestrian link to connect both the north and south
Okay,
properties.
that's great.
So when your project's finished, the only part that gets dedicated to the town is the circle, the extension,
The extension of the road and the
or all in
circle.
front of the units themselves, is that part of the,
It's my
who
understanding,
maintains that,
it's my understanding the owner would maintain,
past the circle?
call it the horseshoe, yes,
Okay.
That's correct.
yeah.
And the HOA does the other, or it looks like it's,
HOA does the other way.
We
We haven't got hit with that bill yet, so I don't know.
oh, the other ones aren't dedicated?
We ended the curb. We ended the curb.
Okay.
I would agree.
Down here.
That-
Anybody else have any more questions or anything? What do you want to do with the sign? Do you want to, I guess, go for that later, or the sign?
We're open to discussion, I mean, we can file a sign permit later, I guess, but again, we didn't want to do anything on this until we consulted with more people, because again, it's more of a, I don't know, not a bonus, but just another aesthetic, yeah, just another aesthetic. If they wanted to show full separation of, I mean, who knows, I don't want to speak for anybody, but I've been in this business for 20 years, and I understand people have different opinions, and I get that. And one of those opinions could be, well, I don't want to be associated with those people, or that project.
Right.
You
I'm
know,
not on the board, so I
I mean,
can't speak for them.
but your best friend could live there, I mean, so, I mean, they're going to be you and I there, you know, figuratively speaking. But again, we're open to discussion. It would be a nice, you know, kind of lightly lit kiosk sign saying, hey, welcome to, I don't even know what we call it. That's, again, an afterthought at this point. This was the bigger priority.
What's a kiosk sign?
It's another word for monument sign. So it's not a pylon sign where it has a pole. This would be basically be kind of the top. Well, you guys have a kiosk sign, so to
I
speak.
personally would think you don't want a sign. I mean, who wants signs in their community? It's a neighborhood.
Well, they have it.
Yeah, when you pull in, it says Purnell Crossing.
Yeah.
So is that going to be confusing? You're going to pull into Purnell Crossing and just kind of bolt right through to,
Well, this is Purnell Crossing, isn't it? Is it part of it?
so it's going to be, yeah, I guess, okay.
So
Yeah.
why have signs everywhere?
Troy, did you sell the name of the project, or was it?
What was the name of the whole thing?
It was, the thought behind it would have been more of identity.
Would you be advertising Reynolds on that sign?
No, not that sign. Well, it could say anything, like,
Or are
it's
you planning
just,
on having a sign anywhere where you're advertising Reynolds?
we haven't gotten that far.
I
Probably not, because everything's done
I
online.
don't want to, you don't need it for your business model, I mean.
Everything's done online.
So
That project in Salisbury, nothing was placed on site.
why commercialize a residential neighborhood with signs? I mean,
Well, it's not a commercial sign, it's, again, they have
no,
it.
but I mean, if you're advertising for rentals, that's commercial.
Well, we're not.
I know, I mean, but it has a commercial flair to it, you're doing business, seeking rentals. If I lived in the neighborhood, I wouldn't want a sign saying rentals, we're open today. I mean,
That's
you
not
know,
what
I'm
it's
not saying that.
You're saying the name
That's not
of
what
the
sign
community.
said.
It just would be.
I know, I'm just saying, I'm just expanding my thought.
And I totally agree with you.
So I'm just saying that, why divide the community? It's all Purnell Crossing.
That's why we wanted to have the conversation. Yeah. Doesn't matter to us or to the builder.
I mean, I'm not real apoplectic about it, I just
Yeah.
expressing my opinion, that why have a sign at all?
Again, some people want to separate identity, you know. But again, it was more or less, we wanted to talk to the HOA about it and see what they thought. If they say, if they have your opinion and they say, absolutely not, we don't want any of that, so be it, it's not going to affect the project. Again, it's more of aesthetic because it looks nice, it's well lit, it's done, it's landscaped around it. Right now, you're going to have a grass island. So some people may prefer a little landscaping, a little aestheticness to it. I mean, and maybe it just says Purnell Crossing Phase 2.
A nice big tree that grows into a big oak tree, peace tree.
I like crepe myrtles, but you know.
Where are the mailboxes for this?
Looks a lot better than a sign.
I don't disagree.
You know,
I would assume each unit will have its own mailbox on the unit, but that hasn't really been discussed.
Where are your mailboxes?
we have like a block.
Okay. Yeah, interesting, I saw your mail guy at someone's front door when I came through today.
Maybe they're getting served.
I thought maybe you had.
No, we don't have individual now.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah.
Anybody have anything else? Dave, do you have anything? Does anybody like to make a motion with the addition of Doretta?
No, I just wanted that included in the motion.
Included in the motion to, go ahead. The application for the,
They wouldn't seek section.
And I just want that included in whoever makes the motion. I'm not saying I'm making the motion.
okay. Why do you think, well, okay. Would anybody like to make a motion to,
I'll make a motion to approve, contingent upon what you said.
with the addition
Is
of,
not
That they don't apply for section 8
house. I have to word that.
as owner or as owner and or owner representative.
I'll second it.
You want to broaden the generality of that, section 8 or other subsidized housing program?
Well, I think that what Dave said about the fact that if somebody comes to an apartment and they apply with Worcester County, that's not section 8, they're getting rental assistance from a church or the Worcester County government or whatever. Section 8 as per se has to be applied for by the rental person or landlord to qualify for
I
that.
understand that the distinction is that if you're going to have section 8, the developer management company has to apply for that to
Right, and
qualify.
I'm saying that they won't do that or they will not
I'm saying
pursue.
that any other sources of income that someone has is not one that requires the rental company owner to get pre-qualified. I'm saying section 8 or any other program that requires pre-qualification of the management company.
Okay, we can word it like that.
Just broaden it, so in section 8 may not always be section 8,
Okay.
other programs they come into existence.
That's why you're a lawyer and I'm a
So how would we word it?
Love 'em,
Would-
girl.
Stop there.
That the owner, that the owner or their agent won't make application for rental subsidy funds.
To qualify for rental subsidy programs.
Dave, Cam Bunting just posted on Facebook saying that Maryland changed the law that you have to accept Section 8.
Who has to accept it? Anybody that is opposed on it? So it doesn't have to be pursued, or you can't turn it down if you're a landlord?
I'm going to text.
We do the motion posing the legality of the statement.
I just make the motion if somebody comes after us and we have to deal with it then, but
Well, here's, you can just say, will not
No, we're not doing that.
will not seek to pre-qualify.
What do you mean, we? Who's this we? Are you coming with me?
What are you talking about? Will not seek to pre-qualify for Section 8 or any other similar type program, but if the law requires you to accept that, then of course,
Yeah, you
comply
can.
with the law. That's your motion.
but I don't think she's exactly right what she's saying there.
Well, still, it doesn't matter, the exception's in the motion so that it makes sense, the developer's not gonna be caught, between a rock and a hard place. If the law requires them to accept subsidized housing, then they have to. Does that work for you then?
I have an answer from Cam if you guys want to hear.
Yeah.
please?
If a tenant applies for a rental, the owner cannot deny them because they're using a Section 8 voucher as long as they are qualified.
Right, that's what I was saying earlier.
Well, if you're communicating with Cam and she's a friend of mine, maybe you can ask her, well, is it, and I'm not subsidized housing, I'm not knowledgeable about it.
She can hear you, she's I'm monitoring these, so she can hear you.
Hey, girl. It's my general understanding that residents do not apply for Section 8 vouchers on $1,700 a month units, because it also has to be approved by the government, and it's not just 100%, say, coverage sheet, if you will. Yeah. I don't know what the rules are, I don't know what the percentages are, I don't know how that works, but I don't believe we got one applicant for the other project in Salisbury for 88 units. I mean, we have police officers in there, EMS, just regular people, and they're taking care of it like their own, like you said. They feel like their own. And plus, but he's learned some things, tweaks, things like that. But I yield to you guys on how to word it.
Well, my ultimate personal opinion is that whether it's Section 8 or not, these guys are a good management company. They've got a superior product here. They're not going to tolerate any garbage going on in or around this project. So any tenant who creates a problem, and that's an unfair assumption to assume that Section 8 people are going to be getting worse behaved than anybody else. They're going to deal with it by evicting them for breaking rules. I mean,
There are rules and regulations, absolutely.
I
within
just
the
don't
lease.
think it's really necessary to even go there, quite frankly.
But just a question or a comment on that, Pete, what if, you say it's a great, system, the company does a great job, what happens when it gets flipped to somebody who's not?
I can't imagine somebody paying the price to buy this place is not going to want to keep the rents where they are, which is probably not going to qualify for subsidized housing anyhow, subsidies. It's high price, it's high, top of the end real estate for rentals in this area. I just don't see it as an emerging problem. If somebody who manages this place is going to have to pay for it, and they're not going to be able to pay for it by becoming destroyed, they're going to have they're just naturally going to have a higher quality tenancy. I have more faith in the human animal in this particular property, I guess. We're not going to see it degrade.
Right?
To address that question too, also.
Yes.
Of course, we all know things change, like pandemics and such, but for any rental, commercial, industrial type of property, including residential, this person has never sold one property. He doesn't plan on this being the first. So he tied. So from a execution perspective, he refinances through long-term financing with major prepayment penalties if you do sell. So just to address the concern, that there's no thought whatsoever to flip or trade it later down the road.
But that guy's gonna die one day.
It does change.
Yes, I know what you mean.
He's 50.
Yeah, we know.
He's still a young buck. He's only 50. But anyway,
I just seen properties change hands and all kinds of things change.
Absolutely. That's why I prefaced it with that thing change. But he's not just, his background, he's never sold one property other than a single family residential lot. It's part of his long-term.
I mean, if someone came out of 10 million, I mean, everyone has a number.
But yeah, they
Right.
wouldn't.
It's not saying things aren't doable.
Yeah, but the rent rate still stands, and no matter who owns it, it's still gonna be.
Yeah, even more so if they all.
But then they might not care for them, they might take more profit out and not put money in to care for them, so.
You have another
There we
way
go.
to cash out on this, if they convert it to a condominium and sell them as individual townhomes, which is a good way to cash out on this. So, there are other higher.
That's potential thought. Of course, right now, they're not separately deeded lots. It's just one parcel.
Yeah, but you could condominiumize it, and that's.
You could do that. That's kind of always maybe a last resort backup plan. The other thing, by the way, is for renters, this is what he does in the Salisbury project, is for any renter that stays with him for 2 years or longer, he will give a several $1,000s credit against the purchase of a new home. So that's just another benefit they offer. So we really try to work with these people. Yeah. Now, I don't think he's building any longer in Glen Riddle, but he's always looking for opportunities.
So Ivy said she had one more comment.
Okay.
No, I was just stating that Cam didn't answer.
Oh.
She didn't answer your
I thought you
question.
said she did, I'm sorry.
You want to revise or go with it?
I'll go with the lawyer language, I mean, but
Which is,
Well, you want to go with the subsidy S being, or section 8 being addressed, is that what you want to do?
Or however you phrase it.
My feeling is don't even go there, but if it's the will of the board, is most of you guys want to put a section 8 comment in here, or? do you-
I mean, is there any downside to adding it?
I'm with you, just make a motion to approve and
Yeah, I just don't think we need to.
not urgent, don't include it. Mayor Regan, make a motion to approve the change.
Let's start over. Would anybody like to make a motion to approve the project as presented this evening with
I'll let you know.
a second?
Yeah.
All in favor? Opposed? I'm still opposed. So we got 6-1.
Thank you.
You want these? Bring it in.
I'm serious.
Site plan approval for the Buzz Meadery, 21 Jefferson Street. Come up and introduce yourselves.
Brett Hines.
Come on, go ahead and tell us what you're thinking.
Sure. So we are proposing to build at 21 Jefferson Street a community green space. It would be privately owned, so not a public green space, although that was mentioned last time. We are aiming to put up a fence and a pergola and open it for community events. So those could take place on the weekends. It could be as simple as a family-oriented bridal shower, baby shower in the middle of the week. People could bring takeout from any of the nearby Berlin restaurants and bring it over for outdoor dining. There could be a number of purposes for it, but the main purpose is to promote community and to promote outdoor seating.
So if you guys are not otherwise holding one of your sponsored events or some other event that's got it scheduled for the day, if somebody buys a pizza at Popeyes, they're welcome to wander in and sit down and eat.
During sun up to sundown.
Sundown, yeah.
No charge on that one, is that what you're saying?
Correct, yep, free, just like if you're getting takeout and, or you're just shopping in Berlin, you just want to get out in some shade and sit down.
You're not doing any food when you do your deal, huh?
When we won't.
We
What
might
do you-
have
what
a
do you-
food vendor who's licensed and they come as a pop-up or something like that, but we
That's-
haven't even talked to anyone about that idea yet.
So, but you're leasing the space for that to happen, is that right?
Not for.
We're not looking to have food there, no.
No, but I mean, if you get a vendor in there and somebody's gonna do an event, you're gonna charge them for space, right?
Oh, yeah. If it's a for-profit thing, we're gonna charge them. If it's something that, like a kid's birthday party or something, just want like an hour.
Well, what do you do? You make wine, is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, we're a licensed winery. What we make is called mead. It's an alcohol made out of honey, and mead doesn't have its own license that's called that, so it's a Maryland winery license.
So this license you gave us came from the Comptroller of Maryland saying that you can provide one fluid after that wine off-site for a brand?
As well as other things, yes.
We mean as well as others.
If you read on it will go on to say we can also serve bottles for, to go at those events, and then also we can serve,
On and off-site consumption.
So you don't think that Worcester County Liquor Board would have any heartburn with that?
no, they might, but they're not, the jurisdiction falls under the state of Maryland.
Yeah.
I sent the license on to April Payne from the Worcester County, and she was fine with that.
We've been working with the Winery Association of Maryland. Kevin Addix has been helping us all the way from when we applied for our original winery permit.
One things are holding the game.
How does pervious and impervious surface and setback and anything that we usually deal with fall into this, Dave?
Well, it's going to be, from what I know, a grass lot like it is now. They're not adding impervious surface, they're adding the fence and the pergola. setbacks in the B1 are virtually non-existent, because it's like the rest of downtown,
There's B1,
this B1 and the historic district, yes.
how about parking for, no need to have parking there, is it?
Is the parking there shown, that'll be on your land you're purchasing, or is that Joe's?
That's-
That'll be on ours, yeah.
So it's gonna be gravel?
We were gonna do gravel,
So
yeah.
it'd be a pervious surface.
Yeah.
When, during the week, when people are allowed, invited even, to come use the place, who's gonna clean up? Who's responsible to do the daily or whatever cleanup?
Yeah, that's gonna be a combination of us personally. We live right on Bay Street, so not.
So you'll come up and deal with it?
Yeah, we're just gonna come up and deal with it, and then, you know, we've also got a bunch of people who've reached out in the community who have said they volunteer to keep an eye on the property. I mean, it's right near a residential area, so, you know, a lot of people see this as value, and they said, hey, if you're gone for the weekend, I'm happy to, you know.
If we see something going on, we'll give you a call.
Yeah,
Yes.
Right,
yeah,
right.
yeah.
If it got to a level where there's a lot of trash, we would hire a company to help us with that trash. But I don't foresee it getting to that level where we would have multiple trash cans each day.
Who's gonna run the people off, and what time of the morning is that gonna happen if they get out of hand, too noisy? Who's gonna go in there and throw it, but tell them that we're finished, are you gonna have hours, or?
Yeah, good question. So, in the middle of the property, to address your question, at first, we're gonna try to give preventative measures by having appropriate signage that says, hey, when you're on the property, this is what our expectations of your behavior are. Similar to like when you go to the beach, there's a sign that says, hey, no glass, no, you know, whatever. Obviously, eventually, people are gonna break those rules, so, but in the center of the property, we're gonna have a signage that at least has the ground rules of what it is our expectation is, and then to really address it, who's going to enforce it. Well, most of the time the property's going to be unmanaged insofar as they're not going to be like a lifeguard, if you will, there. So
there could be a spontaneous party there and last till 2 a.m. and, you know, dealing with a bunch of drunks, just like herding cats, you know, they're not going to stay there until they want to, unless somebody runs them off.
yeah, so we've been working with a security camera company that's working on getting us cameras that are, well, we're going to have cameras there regardless, but then specifically ones that are motion censored, so that way if there's something bigger than like a cat or a dog or, you know, whatever, bag rolling through the wind, it would, you know, send us message alerts and things like that.
And
So,
then you're going to go over there and run them off?
well, we're not going to have any physical altercations, but we're going to take
Well,
the
that's what I
appropriate
said, but I mean,
measures.
somebody has to,
Right.
you just can't have a party lot there with nobody
Right,
you
absolutely.
taking care of it. I
So
mean,
we
people-
would take responsibility for that. If they're on private property and it's after the posted hours, then they're trespassing and we would call.
You know what the posted hours are going to be?
It's roughly sun up to sundown, so that would be roughly 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. unless it was a sponsored activity.
Yeah, we're planning on closing the property regardless of any sort of, you know, sun hours in the summertime, you know, basically, by 9 p.m., that's about as late as anybody needs to be there, so.
And does the gate close then?
Yeah, it's a good question. So the property has two main gates on either side, and so we're gonna have gates, and depending on what the police chief and the fire marshal say about having locks on it, we were gonna put locks on the gates, so that way, if it is after hours, you know, another preventative measure is, hey, the gate is locked.
Right.
Yes, the fence is 42 inches, people are gonna jump it, you know, but, yep, the ideal thing is we'll have a sign that says like open, closed. Some volunteers have said that they'd be willing to open the property in the morning, close it at night if we can't do it. But that's the general.
So it'd be like welcome or not welcome?
Pretty much, yeah. Yep.
Right.
Yep. And then if there is any actual, you know, if we come there and, you know, tell the party that they need to leave, you know, obviously we would, you know, contact the authorities if that doesn't happen. I mean, we don't want this place to be a nuisance. We want it to be an asset to the community. So there would be signage that says no outside alcohol allowed. It's not meant for people to be drinking or bringing, you know, food. They can bring food from home or food from
So you're not taking any wine over to Dezelle?
We would, but that would be a sponsored event. That would be,
We're tip certified, we're.
yeah, under our
licensed to do that.
liability insurance and all that stuff. But
And what hours would it be open for a sponsored event?
yeah, good question. So under the state of Maryland the off-site permits allows for a range, which we wouldn't do, but it would allow for a range from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. That's what the state range says. We were really thinking like a 4 to 6 hour window from like noon to 6 or like 2 to 8, something like that. I mean, we've got toddlers and kids and stuff.
And you would probably time that during other functions that were going on in town.
Yeah, we're gonna try to pair it when the town's busy. We don't wanna be there. I mean, you know, our town gets kinda slow after 8 o'clock. I mean, it pretty much, you know, slows up. So there's no reason for us to be sitting out.
Is there any kind of lighting over there?
Yes, ma'am. So we're gonna have, rope lighting that is, attached to the pergola. And, there's also a street light that is on one of the telephone poles.
At the tip of the triangle?
Yeah, that's not our light, that's just already an existing light that does cast some illumination at nighttime. But we'll have our own lights, and the rope lights that we're gonna be putting will be set for a timer, so that way they're not on all night, or they're not dependent on somebody, you know, takes the human air out of there.
Have you guys talked to much of the neighbors about this? Gotten their feedback?
We have talked to Jeff Oxer, who's the most closest resident and business owner, and he has been in full support thus far. If there's anything different, he's written a letter to Dave and Ivy that was in full support, and we've also talked to him outside of that, and you know he
Anybody else though, or just him?
I could address that.
Yeah, Dave probably would have more input on that.
Yeah, we had quite a lot of communication. Last Wednesday, the Heinz came before the Historic Commission because any of the exterior look the Historic has to approve. And I think I addressed a lot of those items in the staff report I did for you. And knowing, they knew that this would be your purview, not theirs, they just get to approve the look. But as citizen board members, their commission wanted to cover some of the same things. And before that meeting, before I had to cut it off that day at noon, we had, whether it was email or Facebook posts forwarded to me, I had 89 public input, 89 items. Some of them were letters, some of them were emails, but they were sent to my email.
You're probably
87 were in support. They liked the idea of the project. And then yesterday and today, I received a couple, and I like to read them into the record because they were specifically addressed for this meeting. First one is from Barbara Stack at 6 Washington Street, Berlin. Barbara, as you remember, used to be on our planning commission. And she had sent this to Chairman Denny, and he handed it to me to put in the record. I have some thoughts regarding the Berlin Commons project. Number one, I love the idea of keeping this corner as a green space, but number two, I'm concerned that this semi-enclosed space will be misused by the public when no one is around. After hours party spot, a 42-inch fence is not going to keep them out. A place for mischief makers to hide or pop out to scare people walking by at night, or even a place for homeless to sleep in the future. People seeing a place that they can just throw their trash into when walking by. Who is going to control this area when the owners are not present? The Berlin Police Department and the taxpayers should not be asked to supervise private property. Number three, I'm going to repeat my concern from the Habitat for Humanity project of corner visibility. We have a lot of parking on Jefferson Street, and it is very tight on a crowded day. The fence may be only 42 inches tall, but it will be impossible to see through at the intersection with Gay Street. And I will say that I got some input from the Chief of Police, Arnold Downing, on that last comment on the fence, and the Heinz agreed, and the motion was actually made by the Historic Commission to approve that fence the way it's shown, but regarding what the chief thought about its placement. Does it go all the way to the end like it's shown on your drawing, Or does it have to back up?
So you can be more visible.
So that when you came down to the stop sign, you can look? Or would it be best to take it, it comes along at 42, which code allows, it can be up to 48, and drop down, graduate down until it gets to the corner? So that's to be determined, but they're certainly willing to do that. So we kind of get the input again of the chief. And he said the best thing we could do is we'll go out there with him and we'll sit in the vehicle and we'll look. We'll sit in the car and we'll look, with the other car there. So I think that was addressed with historic, and that was the best option to address that, the fence and the visibility. The next one I received this morning is from Patrick Vorsteg. And Mr. Vorsteg owns the building 15 Gay Street, where Pop's Kitchen is located, if you're familiar. And he addresses this to the Planning Commission. My name is Patrick Vorsteg. I am simply the owner of 15 Gay Street. I have concerns with regards to the proposed project at 21 Jefferson Street. I am not completely opposed to this project, however, I am seeking clarity. My concerns start with the fact that there will not be bathroom facilities. To have a business model whereby you are selling a liquid, consumable product should include having restrooms available. I realize that it may not be legally required, but it is the right thing to do. I have major concerns that this could be a problem in the future because people will be consuming but will have no bathroom in close proximity. My opinion is that the town hall bathrooms are not in close proximity for such a business model.
And who was this saying?
This is the owner of 15 Gay Street, Pat Vorsteg. You remember he came before you when he built the building? He has the mixed-use building. He has the apartments above, and Pop's Kitchen is on the main floor.
Yeah.
You know where it is, huh?
I don't know if you recall, he came before us a couple times. My next concern is that on the site plan, I see 14 picnic tables. I counted them, I think there's 13. But each table is at least a 6 top. This calculates to be seating capacity of 84 people. Has a seating capacity been calculated by the fire marshal? To date, no, but the fire marshal would be the occupant. He would determine the occupancy when we go to permitting. If this capacity is approved, why is there no need to have bathrooms or sufficient parking? My concern is if this precedent has been set, there could be future implications, such as a food truck that now has the ability to seat 84 people, but has insufficient parking and no restrooms. I understand that this property is a private entity, but will be available at any time to the public. Daily upkeep is a concern. Who will be consistently gathering the trash on a semi-private/public area? I'm also asking for clarification about the number of events that will be held there. Upon inquiry, I have received mixed messages regarding this. I understand that the state regulates this and approximately 30 events are allowed. Have they established the hours of operation? Will there be music or live bands? Again, my greatest concern is the lack of bathroom facilities and sufficient parking. I think that if they're going to approach this business model in this way, a permanent structure should be built to house the bathrooms. As a neighboring property owner who has made a significant investment in my property, I feel as though these are reasonable requests and questions. Thank you for your attention to this matter, Patrick Vorsteg.
I was gonna bring up the bathroom thing as well, and that's a big problem. I mean, that's a major problem in my opinion. And this thing is pushing up against a residential neighborhood. If it was totally in a business district area where people, are you planning on anything live?
Yeah, it's right there on the site.
What's that?
Isn't the bathroom on the site plan? It says
Is it porta potty? Is that what it is?
Yeah, but you can't have
Does the
a
property
permanent,
come
you
with
can't
an
have
EDU?
a,
Does it have an EDU?
Comes with 2 EDUs.
2 EDU.
That's what I'm asking.
by town code, you can't have a permanent porta
Right,
john.
so this is a structure. The bathroom is a structure.
If we were to have to build one, it would be a structure.
Oh, okay, because it's on the site plan, which says to me, you're gonna build it.
What that porta potty there is for was 2 reasons. Number one.
Oh, that's a porta potty.
That's a porta potty.
Okay.
Number one, we weren't 100% sure on what the town code was as far as having a temporary bathroom, and we found that you can't have that. So we were trying to show that if the town allowed for one, that was obviously well-maintained, pumped weekly or whatever, that if the town had a town-sponsored event, wanted to use this, here's an inconspicuous place the town could put one for an event that would be required of a bathroom. So we were trying to show that we were making accommodations for a bathroom that would be temporary.
But it can't happen.
Unless it was a
Unless it's
town-sponsored
like
event,
a
like something
beach
that,
festival.
And I don't believe the town would put one there
Yeah, I
anyway.
think the town might.
Usually, we don't usually place them, even for the town-sponsored events, we don't usually place them on private property. So I don't believe that would happen either.
That's a concern, I think, for a lot of people.
yeah, the
So
bathroom
if,
is-
could they build a bath house or restroom structure? They would have to buy an EDU, right?
We have to,
So-
They have to use, because then what?
Do you own them already?
well, we don't own the property yet, we're under contract.
The town, it comes with 2 EDUs,
Let me,
that are already paid for.
Let me just give some clarity to that. Yeah, we are under contract to buy this property, conditioned on
Right.
these plans getting approved. We are doing this, and the bathroom concerns are absolutely a very understanding, reasonable thing. We don't necessarily have it in the budget to build what it would cost for the bathroom to make this, because then we're also now having to manage people using that bathroom, locking themselves, you know, a different security setting, which was honestly a little bit more of a risk than, I mean, it was weighing the risk of having that space that somebody can go then use inappropriately, you know, unsupervised, and obviously that's for the bathroom, but when we're not there versus having one. So this was the route that we went.
And the public restrooms are 500 feet from the location.
Yeah,
The guys, they're gonna be around behind Jeffrey Offer's building, peeing behind the building, and they're gonna be over there across the street in that Reiner's apartments peeing over there. I mean, come on, that's what happens when you got people drinking alcohol, or they're not gonna go 500 feet to go pee when they gotta get back in there to another glass of wine. That's not reality.
yeah, it's a tough spot. So it's a tough spot. This is just where we are with it. So I definitely am not sure what the right answer is. This is really the most we can come up with before we approached you with it.
Well, as a planning commission, I think that we have to, or I have to at least, ask myself if I want that in my front yard, if I lived on that street. And the answer is no, I wouldn't want that in my front yard. Because it's an outdoor venue with such a precedent, I think a bad precedent within this town, if we start allowing this kind of thing. I mean, they had a party over here, where that peach orchard thing is, you know, behind Reggie Mayor's house the other night.
10 o'clock.
Hell, that was ripping and raring like you know, I've never heard before, and nobody did anything about that.
It's bad
I don't know
timing.
who cleaned that mess up or who sponsored it, or if it was even legal, but, I mean, if we have that stuff all over town, you know, it's not fair to the people who live in the area. I mean, people bought their property, and again, if it wasn't pushing up against a residential neighborhood, but people bought their property for the quiet enjoyment of the town of Berlin, and for what, you know, and to change the game in the middle of, in midstream, I just don't think it's fair to the surrounding property owners. Now, if you build a structure there and it was indoors, and, you know, and that sort of thing, it would, and I know there's not enough there to do that, probably enough, but, you know, that's a different story. But an open venue like this, it's just open for anybody to jump into, and, you know, it just doesn't, I don't think it lends itself to the town of Berlin, what we're doing here.
Hey, Dave, those two other, the negative letters, or the opposed letters from last week, did anybody live?
No,
across the
they were
street?
not residents. The only one I had from a well, Mrs. Stack lives just down the street,
Okay.
of course, right?
I mean, the ones from last week. The ones
No,
that-
the one I had that, as a resident of right on Jefferson Street, lives right across from the street. He said, while he realized it would have some impact on where he lives, he was in support of the project. That was Regan Smith Jr. And he lives right there on Jefferson. I do have another communication to read into the record.
Okay,
Are
very good.
you got more?
No.
Like for the previous one, this is from Marie Belong at 400 West Street. She got quite a few questions here. I think we've covered some of them. The first one was, where does the existing utility pole fit in this plan? Where have they put it? I assume David Quillen, the architect, didn't put the utility pole on here, but it hasn't gone anywhere. And I had talked to Tim Lawrence, our electric utilities director, about, you know, they're talking about string lights and very little electrical use. He said it would be powered from that pole with a breaker box, you know, an exterior one, either mounted on the pole or they would have to loop it underground with a meter, yes, on site, you know, on the inside of the fence.
Does that pole have a street light that shines down, or?
I think so.
I think it was that, but one of them right there, yeah, it's hard to say from which
And that's-
exact.
I think it's the same one.
The one close to all.
I know there's only
Yeah, the one close.
There's one on that corner has a light, the
Yeah,
street light.
but he would power it from the pole.
intersection.
He said it might be different if they were going to construct a building on it, but right now he would power it from the pole. And again, the next question is, will there be an electric panel? Yes, that's what Tim said he'd require to control their lights, cameras, etc. Will you have an outlet for amplification? I don't know what that, I guess.
We're not planning on having amplified
Power is
music.
power, but not speakers, I would gather, right? Putting the tree more to the center would keep the view at the tip of the triangle open for traffic. It would also provide shade to the center area. I think she's assuming that.
There's a tree landscape there, right?
Yeah. So, without a sidewalk on Gay Street, why is there a gate opening? No, the fire marshal would require that for egress in case there was an accident or a fire in the space. You need means of egress. It seems that would encourage foot traffic on that side of the street and encourage parking in the Atlantic Hotel and Pop's Kitchen parking lots. Is there an opening from the parking area? Will that be restricted to property use only? I would assume that would be open for anyone when you're not using the property, correct?
Yeah, exactly.
It is, and those, the fences next to the vans are meant to be lowered, if
Not lowered, just, they're on the
they're able
edge.
to be
And-
open.
And there is a gate, if you look at the blueprint, I believe
Yeah.
there's a gate from the backside.
Yep. Since they are planning on food and beverage consumption, why are restrooms not required? It is not that close to the town restrooms. Has the Worcester County Health Department been advised of this project? What is their say? And I have spoken to the Worcester County, I talked to Mr. Hayward at the Worcester County Health Department, Ryan Hayward. And unless they're producing food there, which all they're allowing is people to bring their takeout food from other places there, or picnic. If they were producing food or they had a bar there with an ice machine, then they would require them to have a permit. They would require them to undergo inspections, and they would require restrooms. He said, from what he knows of the project, and then he and I talked about it, he said, no, we wouldn't require anything from that. So that's the health department. Having a large trash receptacle covered, I can understand, but what about smaller ones near the tables? How about cigarette receptacles? We've talked about trash with the historic, we've talked about trash here. Ivy Wells, our economic development coordinator, I believe has town trash cans that can go along the sidewalks.
And we also have a cigarette butt recycling program that we offer to all the businesses.
We won't allow
Yeah, if
cigarette
necessary.
Yeah, how about no smoking signs?
There's just no
Thank you.
smoking law.
Will the area be pet friendly? That one I didn't know. I don't know.
We were gonna say dogs on a leash, yeah, leash dogs.
What exactly would the 32 events consist of? Are they including the town's events in that number, or are they separately booked? Is that how they would be making their money on the property?
Yeah, so it's a lot of questions, and to try to get, I think, what would distill down to be what to answer that the best, yes. So, remember, the plan that we're approaching you with is not about our special events. I just want to reframe this project for you. What we're presenting to you today is a fence, picnic tables, and pergolas, and an outdoor area that people who are in town can go use. I just want to reframe that as we get into this, because that's what we're pitching to you. Any business can have special events. Yes, ours are beverage-based, and we don't have a bathroom, and that is something that needs to be talked about and figured out. But the types of events that we're going to have, for example, when the town has their art walks, we're going to, we're right in the art district. We've already talked with, the
Patty and the Art Council.
Patty and the Art Council. So we're going to have space readily available for local artists to set up. Basically, if you think of like a space where we can showcase a local artist to then sell their stuff, whether it be a farmer's market tent or they don't necessarily need that. It's a place where people who live in our town can come together and showcase the things that they're making, selling, creating, and that's the essence of what this space is. So.
And not only that, we're taking it's a dirt lot right now. If you went over there during the Jazz and Blues Fest, I did, and there were about 10 cars parked there. It's really an eyesore. We're trying to actually beautify this. We're trying to make it a place where people want to be. And I really just genuinely don't think that our community is going to destroy it and throw trash there and have homeless people living in there. I just don't see that happening here.
If you put 84 people on there and it's grass, it's gonna be a mud hole if there's any dampness at all, and how are you gonna maintain that with dogs in there doing their thing as well, even leisure or not? How are you gonna keep up that grass lot inside there with that kind of density and people moving in and out of there?
That's a really great question. At the historic commission, that got brought up. So we're exploring different options for that, whether it be some sort of whether we gravel it.
Then you're getting into making impervious surface and impervious surface, and you got the stormwater issues.
If it's gravel.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah.
Gravel's.
I mean, pervious. Yeah. Gravel would be the same as a parking lot.
Yeah.
They have a different value for stormwater.
Yeah,
but
gravel's
a little bit more pervious, but not much more than concrete or blacktop.
Gotcha.
We will speak with
Yeah, I'm not gonna.
the details.
I would be honest. I'm not.
I mean,
I don't know. We're gonna.
there is an answer. They make a thing you put on grass that's like a wire thing that will not tear up the grass. I mean, the people can go where they tear it up, it still leaves it as a pervious thing, so that is an answer there, but
Okay.
I just wondered what your solution was. Or,
Yeah, we're really looking for them. We were really not sure because that is going to be a major issue. Yeah. Regardless of how many people are there, it's going to be an issue.
And I had one more or two more questions from Ms. Valong. Is there some written contract between the owners and the town designating what is expected of each party, especially when it is used as overflow seating for town events? There's no intention of that. It's private property. The town's not responsible for the property. If people want to sit there, just like the benches on Main Street, we don't have a contract with the merchants that have a bench in front of their.
just like my front wall during a Halloween parade, or Christmas parade.
Yep. And then the last one is, will yet another billboard be required on the town's sidewalk directing people to this area? The sidewalks are already difficult to maneuver between the signs and tables, etc.
I believe the town code allows for one sandwich board per sign, but that's the town code. So it would only have one.
You get one sandwich sign, sidewalk sign per business, that's correct.
Can I ask, none of these are gotcha questions. I just want to clarify in my mind. I got 7 or 8, they're pretty easy.
Sure.
Food service. You're talking about if you guys bring food, you can either A, bring outside food, or B, potentially a food truck for events. Or not a food truck, but...
We're not planning on having food producers come there, more like if somebody makes salsa locally and selling it, or like nuts or something.
So if I were to rent the thing for an event?
Oh, if you wanted to rent it for an event,
Yeah.
And block it off for a period of time, I mean, yeah, you could cater it however you wanted to.
That's exactly when you need a bathroom.
Yeah, I guess so.
That's like, there's no way around that.
Yeah. at
Usually
all.
for a
You're
catered
talking
event,
about
they,
for the.
Yeah,
for the-
you're gonna lease the space, you gotta have, you know, you gotta,
Yeah, Ron, that's a good point. That's a really good point. Yeah, I wish I had an answer. I said, yeah, hey, look, we got an extra 25,000 in the budget that look, guys, we can put a bathroom in there. I just don't have that. So,
well, let me back up some. Could they apply for a structure of a bathroom?
It's a good question. I don't have a 100% answer for you.
That's the thing we
It's like a
need to
never
know.
before.
sure.
That's a never before been asked.
Right, here we
The
are.
only time we did it, we permitted ourselves
Right.
for the restrooms out at Henry
Right.
Park, when we built just a restroom building. So, yeah, I guess it could be.
But I think
There's nothing in the,
Yeah.
there's nothing in the code that says you can't build a restroom only.
I'm just,
Yeah.
permit process, we know about the permit process. And then you run into all kinds of questions.
If we were able to get some sort of grant money or something, I don't know that one exists for permanent bathrooms, but if there was a way to budget that in there, we would be absolutely fine making that a permanent bathroom, because that would solve, I think, most of the serious questions we have. We just can't afford that.
And we
So-
I actually submitted the application today for a COVID relief grant. It's for the purchase of land, but that would give us the extra funds to build the bathroom. So
Well,
we
not
haven't applied.
necessarily, because
Not necessarily, but we can make it work.
That's-
Like,
Let's
I
not be
applied
fast
for it,
here.
so
that's,
we'll see if
It's already
we get it.
yeah.
That would be nice.
All right, so
typically for an event, when people have events at at the parks, if we don't supply porta pot, then they bring their own porta pot in.
Call photos and say, hey,
right. I mean, so they would be able to bring photos. They could
Right,
bring
so
their
if somebody
porta
wanted to
potty
have
spot.
an event there, then it would be up to the person who's having the event to bring their porta pot in, and that would be probably part of their contract.
But Dave, with the town, I want that
Because
to
it's
be
just
true.
temporary porta pot, it's just like when the town has an
What I
event.
was saying, and what I've said all along, is they can be temporary. In other words, if you're having, it can't be there 24/7.
Yeah.
Okay, you can't just leave the porta john, and even if you had a contract that they're gonna pump it out every day, that's not something, you can do it on, if you had an event, you could bring in the porta john on, let's say, Friday afternoon. It better be gone, like, by Saturday night, or whenever the event's over. And I guess we could, see, that brings other problems too. You're all talking about the possibility of people, using the back of buildings and things like that. But we've had problems with the porta johns when they're left unattended.
Sure.
The one in Henry Park, before we built the bathrooms, there were two there, and they were always a problem, like for vandalism. I mean, they were melted to the ground by people. They were burnt to the ground. It was a glob of paint.
God help the person that's gotta go clean them out after that.
Right, well, that was our public works, so we, they're not the answer, but I mean, he, on the plan, had them, like a dumpster enclosure, it was closed off, it wouldn't, but,
But they're asking for a permanent use, and so that you can't put a permanent, if you're gonna have a permanent use, you should have to have a permanent bathroom.
that's why I say, it would have to come and go, a porta john, or the way they have them now, like even for the weddings, we've all been to these yard weddings, they drive them up there, they're on a trailer, and they stay on the trailer.
And that's unfair to the neighbor loading and unloading that, and you got that, if it blows over in a big wind, that's a big mess.
Did you want me to comment? Did you want me to?
Yeah,
to comment?
I mean, and I have talked about the restroom issue more than I care to, but so.
I have a quick question.
Yeah,
Well, it's the
right.
issue.
Does your license allow you to, build a store there and leave your product behind?
We would have to apply for a new license.
If, I see what you're saying, if we were to build an actual.
If you were to build an
like,
800 square foot building there
There.
with a bathroom.
Yeah,
you leave
no.
your product, you have a little store there, or you?
Our license would require us, at any event, we have to take it home with us, off-site
You can't
every
leave
night.
anything secondary behind?
Can't leave it
And
behind.
then we would be
Is
considered
that
a
an
bar.
available
or a-
option? Or
Well, we followed up with that, and yeah, we're not allowed to store it off-site overnight. It has to all be brought back to the main, because the TTD needs to know where every bottle is at every time, and they don't want it at an off-site temporary location.
And we can't
Because we
file-
thought of that, originally we had a little, basically like an enclosed bar that we could have freezers in and just close it up at night, had a bathroom attached to the back of it, and it was all of this we talked about, but number one, it was way above the budget that we have, and when we found out we couldn't leave the alcohol there, leaving it there and then somebody breaking in and then us getting not only stolen
Losing your
alcohol
license.
and losing our license was not worth that, so. And the property is too small to build an actual, for what we want to do with it, like this, to build an actual meadery. Like
How many square feet is this?
It's rough, it's a 10 acre.
0.08 acres, yeah.
It's what?
0.0881 acres.
I don't know, on the board of
Less than
Habitat,
10.
design the whole, that.
Yes, 3-story multi-use. Yeah, commercial down below, residential.
Yeah, that was really expensive building.
If you
That's why
scale
it's still
it,
a dirt patch.
Yeah,
That's why it's still a dirt patch.
and we're trying to come in and, yeah, the bathroom thing,
That's it.
that's it. I'm not really sure how big.
if I could comment again on the bathroom issue, I've said this previously, whenever we talk about a parking problem, I don't think we have a parking problem, I think we have a walking problem.
Exactly.
Okay, I don't remember the last time I was actually at a shopping mall, but when you're in the mall and you have to find the restroom, sometimes those restrooms are a lot further away than the public restrooms that are going to be located here. I'd also like to make a comment about the.
Let me just address what you just said. Were you drunk when you're in the mall?
I think that
Listen, let's deal with reality.
I am, and I think that what's happening here is that there's this illusion that this beautiful green space is going to turn into this big rowdy beer garden, and we have several locations where alcohol is served outdoors. The new restaurant that just opened, the Sterling Tavern, J&M Grill, they're going to build a deck with a lot of outdoor tables there. We've had outdoor tables.
Where's J&M?
The meat market right on the corner.
We've had the Atlantic Hotel with several outdoor tables there for I don't know how many
But
years.
they're not
And
showed up against a residential neighborhood.
the Atlantic Hotel is pretty much right near where this location is. And I also like to say, I think in fairness to the letters that Dave read today, I think that it's only fair to read 100+ positive letters that were submitted on their behalf.
How many of them are all those residents of the town of Vernon? 100 or 87 that wrote letters?
Were they all residents?
Yeah.
The majority of them,
Majority,
because I was
yeah.
copying
I
them
didn't-
also.
And in what proximity were they to this? Do you know?
No, I didn't keep track.
Well,
I mean, I knew the one was
Somebody lives over on West Street that can walk up here and raise hell and then go home. It's not bothering them, or if it goes on late or whatever, it's not bothering them, but the guy that's across the street and the apartments that are over on the other side and the guy that lives on the other side, which suddenly, I mean, that's just very impactful for their neighborhood and their quiet enjoyment of their property.
I don't dispute that. I'm just saying the one that I knew was from Jefferson Street was in the
And
neighborhood.
I think overall, and you can talk about J&M or Atlantic Hotel, they're in the middle of town, they got outdoor seating but this sets a bad precedent.
Do they have a public restroom when they do this J&M?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a building.
No, they don't have a public restroom.
I mean, when they have their new tables or whatever it is. You know?
Inside, I'm sorry, they do.
They do.
They do.
so
They have a
that
place
was
for
for
their-
their-
Not outside.
They're a brick and mortar place.
But their tables still remain there even when the establishment is closed. They don't have a fence, they don't have signage saying, don't sit on the picnic tables. They just have picnic tables out there. And there's quite a
I
few.
think the thing's great, but the bathroom is the holdup. I mean, Rains Reef actually didn't have a bathroom for, you've been here 100 years. Remember they never had them?
In 05.
And they had everybody going into the Atlantic Hotel to pee and whatever else they're doing, but believe it or not, the place did not have a public restroom. They're serving
Well, I think.
food. They got people who are running kids across the street to, puke in the Atlantic Hotel.
I think the majority of the businesses up and down Main Street and in the
They don't.
downtown, they don't allow the public to use their restrooms. Very few of the retailers would allow it. I know Bill Alton does at the antique store, his stores, but others don't. It just,
Well, they're not
So,
they're
what-
not feeding them liquid or whatever.
I think there's
but they
two
could
things.
be consuming that anywhere. And then they still have to come to
And
town
they walk
hall.
to the public restroom or whatever.
Correct.
But they only have they have 2 or 3 people in their shop.
So
As opposed to a wedding party with 80 people or whatever.
Yeah, that's when it becomes an issue.
That's when it
There's
becomes an
50
issue.
people there and
big
they're there for hours.
Well, I mean, so
Again, I'm
Like
not,
I
I'm
said,
not
they
advocating,
have
I'm
a
not,
porta
I'm
pot
just,
just for that.
can I say two things about the restrooms? I think one issue you can look at is that it would be a private business using public resources for their outside bathroom. But you guys, when you do an event that would be a profit center for you guys, would be proposing, from what I can tell, to bring in a porta potty for those events. So when you are doing money-making activities, you are now providing a restroom for your clients. And sure, they'll get busy, they'll use public restrooms, whatever, it's an overflow. But when this is being used for a benefit of the town, as free time, as here spaces, I know you own it, but it is a public shared space. The bathroom issue then results to the town because there isn't one, but it's not like you're using that resource there as a profit-making time. Is that a fair assumption?
Yeah, that's,
If
The
town
public
were to let
restrooms
us
were
do
built
it.
specifically for the commercial district downtown to allow, because there's no, you're not gonna go in a Bruder home and ask to use a restroom. All of the retailers and merchants downtown say, we're so lucky we have public restrooms for everyone to be able to use. So they're no different than any other.
Right, and what I'm saying is that when there's food and drink involved in their business model, they are providing their own bathroom. And when there is no food and drink in their business model, where the gates are just open for Berlin to use, it is the commercial district providing that bathroom. But once again, they're not making money during that period. So what I'm saying is that when they are taxing our bathroom usage, when we are using the bathrooms more, that they are providing something to cover.
Exactly, right. You guys are providing a service to the town
Correct.
at that time. Right.
Okay.
To me, it's a pretty good
So
trade.
this is a positive aspect of the bathroom.
If the town were to permit us to do that, on those weekends that we had events, we would be happy to put the portable bathroom in there for 1 or 2 days, so that it was a temporary use, if that were allowed.
and
I don't know what the cost of something like that is.
we got a good question.
Just, I'm curious.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
$100 a month.
I
It's
actually-
drop off delivery.
I reached out to Fogels and said, what does it cost for a month? Now, that's them dropping it off
right.
once,
Right.
and it was like $167, I think is what it
What
was.
is it, did you ask per day?
I didn't because
Yeah,
We were
that's
just-
the question. It's
Well,
like,
their
for a
biggest
week, it's
expense
probably
is
the
dropping it off and picking it up.
Right, so I didn't ask that, so I am
That's-
curious
that's
to
where the
know.
money is.
That's, right, because that's what I gotta follow up, so I'm sure it would still be in that same
I'm
range.
sure they have a function price, they do it all the time for a day or two.
Yeah.
And they have to service it, that's the other thing, is that they're gonna question how many people, so they need to know if they have to service it during that day or two or not.
Yeah. Yeah, one thing that we could do is while we are doing our events, just to be clear, the space may be rented out for like somebody doing yoga or something like that on a Tuesday afternoon, and we're not gonna call that our event, but I don't want our decisions to say, oh, well, when any event is there that's not involved, then we have to have the bathroom, because there might be non-food, non-beverage related events
Just
that
the
happen.
owners of the
It
property.
seems to me like only when you're providing food and drink do you
Yeah.
need to provide.
Because that's the only one that's going to count as an event.
Yeah.
In and out.
32 a year, right?
32
that are
So yoga is
created
not
on-
going to be that one of them that you're checking on.
Exactly.
30 people
If you're having
for a
a
private
meeting on
event,
property,
money.
that's an event.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep, and we're gonna be participating in other
Food,
events in the
we've got 40
state,
people
so we're not
in a
gonna do
private event.
32 just at our spot, because we go to other things that,
Oh, okay. I
it's
didn't know
all
that.
events, so
No,
we
there's
might only
I
do
thought it
20
was
here.
32 there.
Well, it
Oh,
could.
I'm saying yes, but
It's
you're
32
using that around
days.
other places.
You got it.
Farmer's market.
The other-
Let them.
You can't hear, you got two discussions, but we can't hear any, either one of them. Yeah.
Is one of your-
I can't hear what you were talking about, with two of you talking, two discussions.
Well, so what I'm trying to figure out is if it's a non-food and drink event, and you have, I don't know, 40 people doing yoga, whatever event, is that a porta potty necessity as well? Because now we brought 40 people into once again, a profit-making center for a bathroom, and I don't know.
I would say-
Like the food and drink one, I absolutely understand. That one,
Yeah, we'll leave that up to you. we're here to ask for this and then also take recommendations, because these are things we've been trying to figure out ourselves. We don't know what we can do, exactly what we can't do. So, I mean, we want this to work for the town. If the town wants this, I think tonight we're gonna figure out a solution, and if not, then we won't. So, we're here to kind of come up with solutions with you on this, because this bathroom is a big deal. I mean, if I could have put a bathroom in, we would have done that, day one. We just, we both teach high school, and we're doing this out of, we're just trying to piece this thing together. So that's just where we're coming from. So if we can come to a consensus on if we have, beverage, food-related events, or if you, rent it out for your private party and you have it catered and there's food, we'll make sure that maybe we could, I don't know, that wouldn't sound like it would need a bathroom too. Maybe if it's above so many people or
For a certain
something.
duration. Like I would say, a yoga party of 40 people, they would probably be there an hour, and they may not need a bathroom for a short duration.
I would say that you could, for your own events, and again, this is for them to make a motion or to agree on, but the path forward might be that you can have the porta-john there on a temporary basis for your Buzz Meadery sponsored events, because that's the name of their LLC, and any other event as necessary. But it's not supposed to be a permanent, every day of the week, every day of the month, porta-john standing there.
Right.
But you could make a condition that they do have a porta-john for those events. And talking about the occupancy, earlier today, because it's a question that came up in the one letter I read about the tables. I don't think he can get that many tables on there. That came up with the Historic Commission last week also. But the square footage, I just scaled the architect's drawing because he didn't list the square footage available. Sometimes it is.
Davey didn't put that on there as thorough as he is?
So, no. So, scaling it, to me, and I will leave this for the fire marshal to determine for the space, but by international building code, I went to the occupant load table, used the closest, and it's with non-fixed tables and chairs. That's how it's called under the code. Would be 57 occupants. So if there's 6 tops, that would be 10 tables, not 13. So it's a little less dense than you think there. They're going to have the fences are pulled in from the sides a little bit. They're going to have some landscaping and pots and things like that. I don't think it's going to be as busy as it looks on the overhead here. But
Yeah, I mean, how often is it going to be 100% capacity, like maxed out all the time?
Well, a 57 people event, or whatever you said, 84, whatever, I mean, they got to park somewhere when they come to this event.
yeah, well, just like any business that would go there, their parking's always going to be an issue. It's already an issue downtown.
So do we need to exacerbate that?
We are working on.
Every
Like I said, we don't have a parking problem, we have a walking problem.
Yeah.
Can you expand upon that? Because I believe that I hear this issue come up all the time.
Yeah, I don't.
What was that?
People don't
Can
want
you
to walk,
expand
people
upon
don't
that?
want to walk.
People don't
more
want
than
to
a
walk,
block.
you don't want to park right in front.
Simple.
There's plenty of parking at Stephen Decatur Park. We have parking access right here at the church right next to Baked.
Yeah.
There's the,
Tyson
Parking,
Lane, you
there's
can go
parking,
park
there's
there.
parking so much closer.
I hear this issue come up a lot. I walk down
Ivy,
there.
again, you want to change human nature. And they're not, people.
I'm not trying to.
But that is what, the town had funded a parking study, if you remember, 3 or 4 years
I
ago.
understand.
And that's what the consultants came up with. They said, you don't have a parking space problem, it's the distance that people don't want to walk. And it was 2 peak periods, and they were basically right around lunchtime and right around dinner time, the end of the 5 o'clock working day.
This very back past weekend, when that Woolly Wall came through and it was thunder and lightning, I saw people running for their lives for the fire company. Now, you think we got a walking problem there? I mean, the people had to get back to their car because they didn't have anywhere else to get. We got a parking problem, whether you like it or not. and it's not convenient.
I
And
don't- I don't like
so
it.
maybe that's why some of these businesses are struggling, because we need convenience.
The businesses are not struggling.
Well, I mean, you hear pissing money sometimes, it's been good lately, I know, but, you gotta have parking if you're gonna have people in town, you gotta have convenient parking.
Can I go back to my list of 7 questions, just
Yes.
clarifications? 'Cause I'm just trying to figure everything out. So for a private event, is it like people can bring their own booze with a permit? There's no booze, only,
That would be public drinking.
that's what I'm trying to figure out.
Right,
I'm trying
right,
to figure out.
right, yeah.
So it's the meat.
It was like a wedding with catering for drinks. We have,
If I want to throw a birthday party there, can I bring?
I mean, I'd
we
I'd
are
rather-
requiring insurance, so that would be something
I'm
we
not-
have to pass by our insurance.
I'm not looking to go
Probably
that
not.
route.
That's fine. I
I mean,
mean,
we might legally be allowed to do that, but that's definitely not the trajectory I want this to go.
okay. Can people can't buy the mead and drink it in there during the daytime unless it's a private event?
The only time we would be selling mead there would be when it was one of those events, otherwise,
And you have to buy it on premise to drink on premise?
correct.
Okay.
They couldn't buy it, for example, if it was the events would be theoretically up to 3 days, so Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Say they saw us Sunday morning at the Berlin Farmers Market, where we peddle our stuff, we would, say if they bought it from us off the street there, they obviously can't drink it at the farmer's market or on the street. So if they went home and then brought it later that day to our thing, we can't have any alcohol brought in. From
So you have to buy it within the triangle to drink it within the triangle?
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
make it super
Yep.
simple. I mean, legit.
That's right, literally,
Okay.
yeah.
That just, any plans for music or live bands? I know David mentioned electric. And all
Yeah,
that.
if we did, it would be all acoustic or just non-amplified music. I don't think we want to limit human vocals and sound non-amplified ever. So, if somebody wanted to play a guitar, acoustic or something, we would be in favor of that, but not like something electrified. It's not meant to be a music venue of any type.
And we could put limits on that where it's not till 10 o'clock. As on Artisan Screen, we could be done at 8 o'clock, and that,
How late is the new, is it the Wastehead Inn, where the Tomasellos are going? How late are they allowed to have their events now?
The 9 or something?
But there's a noise ordinance as well, so they would have to abide by that.
No, I'm just wondering, I know there's been a bunch of back and forth on that. Was
I think it was 9 o'clock, that was set by the liquor board. And that was non-amplified.
Now, is there a restroom in that, when they have an event over there?
They got a house right there.
Inside.
Well, they do, but they also showed on their site plan a spot in the parking lot where they wanted to have the restroom trailer. In other words, it rolls in on
Oh, yeah.
it's a whole one structure, wheels, and you walk up the steps and there's ladies and there's men, like you have for other outdoor events. And that was their plan. It's on where the tents were, it was shown as a location in the back. If the tent is in the front, if the tent's in the back, it's off, behind the building to the right.
Is there an 8-foot fence anywhere? Because on A20, it shows that 8-foot fence.
there is a taller fence, I believe it was 6 foot, around where the restroom and trash receptacles could be. And so that would be gated.
the high fence.
That's the high fence, back where the cars are.
You got it.
It would be
Hide the
gated
trash
and
cans.
locked.
6
Why not?
foot is 6 foot is the highest. You can
It's
have
6
for it.
It says 8 feet.
It does say 8-foot, right?
Okay, well-
They got a veto after that.
Okay, but 6 foot would be the limit.
But it's 6 foot.
Did you do 6 feet around the whole thing? No?
48 on the other. 48 inches is would be the
And then
max
that'd
on
be
the
a
other.
visibility issue that we call it.
Right.
And then, is there an issue, so the light's gonna go on after hours?
The rope lighting?
Yeah.
They would just be set for,
Like a timer thing?
yeah, probably 3 or, mood lighting for when the sun's going down, 3 or 4 or 5 in the afternoon, depending on the time of year.
Okay, it's not meant to be like a security feature from 10 at night till 6 in the morning?
No.
Okay.
Nope.
Okay.
That'd be the huge
Maybe
floodlight.
dimmer than-
Well, that's what I was
You
like,
don't want that outside your bedroom.
well,
And
that's
then,
what I was
and then if you look at the site, when it is dark, that one street light that's there is way brighter than any
Right.
string lighting that they would put, on the pergola. And that was even a comment that Mr. Oxer, who's the neighboring property, he said The street light will blind you before anything they put up, that's what he told me, so.
All right.
Is there any chance of getting a restroom used from his place?
I'm sorry.
Oxford? I mean, does he have, why not? Does he have a public restroom or not? Or-
I'm sure it's for his paying guests only at the most.
I wouldn't want to.
I wouldn't want to.
Yeah, start that.
I'll just say in general,
Put a hole right in the wall.
I love the idea. It looks cool. It was a heck of a lot better than obviously what's there right now. If we can address obviously the bathroom issue,
I think that
our
might,
main concern sounds like is.
It's not a bad idea, but it's a bad location for this, I think. We up against a residential neighborhood, and it's just, and it sets, I think it sets a bad precedent, because if we start putting this kind of stuff all over town, it's just not a good fit, I don't think.
Mr. Chandler, I remember when we were at the.
Newt is my name.
Newt, when we were at the farmer's market just this 2 Sundays ago, I said, so what do you think? And you said, it's too much racket for a Sunday morning.
And it was early, yes, I didn't.
It wasn't that early, but I really do, I'd like to say this again, that I think we've heard 3 negative letters tonight, and I think that it's really important to listen to the positive feedback that the community has sent to myself and Dave and Carolyn in full support of this project.
But I would ask you one question about your other comment, which I didn't get to. Do we need a singer and music at the farmer's market?
Yes.
We do?
Yes.
So the people who are living in the apartments above and at 7:30 in the morning.
It's Main Street, it's a commercial downtown.
Well, I understand, but it's a mix. Why do we need a singer at a farmer's market?
If we could get back to this subject, I appreciate it. But the health department said that they didn't need to have a restroom.
I'm sorry.
The health department said what?
If
Not
Dave
need
could
a
repeat
restroom
that.
for this use.
The health department says that.
Right, but we have our own tasks
Right.
as a planning commission.
Correct.
87 or 57 people in that little triangle drinking alcohol.
I think you're with us.
Yeah, no, I think
It's just, how do you?
Yeah, so this is what I'll recommend, guys. When we have, if you're willing.
How about if we do this? How about if we table this? And then we go do your homework, find out some other things, and then come back after you have more information that you're gonna.
There's no more, respectfully, there's no more.
Okay, I was
information.
just thinking like prices.
Just prices.
Yeah,
I see that.
I didn't want to commit yourself to something, you know?
I gotcha.
We want to make it work.
Yeah.
So, and quite honestly, we want to be open for the summer season so we can actually have a profit.
If we don't get this, this is
If we
just
go through till
our
fall.
business. You guys are business guys, you get this. So if we don't have this, I mean, if we pass it or not, that's up to the town to decide. You all to decide. So we are either proceeding forward with this project and building it as quickly as possible and having it built so we can be open by 4th of July, or we're gonna push it back, and then we have to make all the, the town is only busy for so many months, and we're already late to getting this started. We really needed to have done this over the winter time, but the property wasn't an option for us. So what I was gonna say previously is, what I recommend is, if the town and everybody thinks it's a good idea, first off, we don't want to upset our neighbors by using their bathrooms. This has been something we've been trying to figure out. So since the town will allow a temporary use for porta potties, obviously that's not a perfect solution, but we could, during our events on a Friday through Sunday, or however the event would not be longer than that, we would have a temporary bathroom brought to the property and removed by the end of the event. And then when there's ever non-food events, the only food events we're planning, non-food drink events would happen would be Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So the property would not be hosting a porta potty throughout the week. That would not, we can even say we can only have food events during our Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So we can mitigate having that temporary use, making sure that it's only temporary.
Are you relying on income to pay the mortgage for when you're not there, when you're renting it to the wedding
We're not,
We're not relying
no,
on that.
we're
I'm just saying,
not,
I don't think anybody's gonna rent it, for a wedding with no
Sure.
bathroom. You know?
That's-
yeah, it's a good question. So we're not really looking to rent it to necessarily private parties or anything like that. I mean, we've thrown that out there tonight as ideas, and I guess that's always an option, but that's definitely not the general use for this. It's really for our use to have the events there to be our tap room, if you will, the temporary tap room, until we can have a location that's bigger and more,
I'm saying if you came and did your events, some of your 30-some odd events,
Yeah.
and you had the bathroom there, and I don't think you need to remove it the next morning. The town always leaves in the middle of that alley over there till Monday.
I agree. That's why I said, each event could be, it could be a Friday, Saturday, Sunday event, right? We don't know.
Well, that's what they said, they have a permit for a 3-day event, doesn't mean you have to be open the other 2 days. But, I mean, it's
Yeah.
technically right. So, I'm just saying, if you're not doing, you guys are off in Westminster doing your thing, and this is sitting empty over here. There's no bathroom.
Sure.
I'm saying, are you relying on renting that space? That's what you threw out there, that you're gonna set, went to a wedding party or a birthday party or something along those lines.
Yeah.
Or just leave it wide open for the public to.
Yeah, I understand your question correctly. We're not looking to fill all of the daytime time slots with private reserved time. We're not looking to, we'd be making our income from our events that we're doing, and then the rest of it would basically be, we probably would figure a way to write it off, you know what I mean? Some sort of.
Just the benefit of the community.
Yeah, the benefit of the community. I mean, we've had a couple of, the local yoga studios say that they'd be interested in posting stuff there, or,
Bike cruisers.
well, just a number of people have reached out to us and said, hey, we could use this, and some of them are private, and some of them are
So
businesses.
you wouldn't charge them?
In some cases, like, for example, for yoga,
So where does that decision?
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm confused about how you.
yeah, we're trying to figure that out too, because it's kind of going to be, we don't have a mantra that says this is exactly who we're going to charge and who we're not going to charge. If a yoga class comes,
Because they're charging somebody.
they're charging somebody,
Right.
and so we're going to have some sort of flexible pay schedule. So if you have 2 people show up, we're not going to charge them. That's going to take all their profits, and then
What's your insurance company say about liability on this type of deal?
Yeah, so we just looked at that, and it actually is not that much. It's only about I think it was $700 extra.
You told them the truth? You told them to go to the public and there's going to be an event there with alcohol served? I mean, do they know all that?
Yeah, so they classified it as a hall, and it has some coding that they do so that it's basically picnic tables, chairs, things like that, that's open. So, yeah, I had an in-depth conversation with them after the Historic Commission, because they need to know, because if somebody gets hurt out there or liability, I mean, they're going to come after me, and I need to be covered. So I was not.
It's at least $1 million policy.
Yeah, I mean, that's what our,
Just general
that,
liability.
just like anybody, that's a minimum, that's not even that much money.
Dave, is there any limit to how many events they can have? Not your license, but, so if they wanted to have rented out 52 weeks of the year, or not rented out, but rent out.
No,
As long as they bring a porta potty in and get rid of
it's
it by
private
Monday.
property. It's in the business district, but it's private property.
Yeah, so that you can.
So if you, I don't know, if your son or daughter wanted to have a backyard party every weekend, there's nothing in the code that says they can't. It's private property.
To have the porta potty.
You could call a porta potty and put it in your backyard. couldn't
Oh, I have one.
you? I know, I've been meaning to speak to you about it. No, but seriously, really.
I mean, it's a commercial property, so, yeah, that's all. We always have different rules for us folks.
So they could have a party there every weekend if they want?
Just like the hotel.
So we could limit it.
No, it's not just like a hotel. It's not just like that.
But
Because number one, there's a bad. Number two, you're in a residential, right up against a residential district. And that affects people's property values, and that affects their peaceful enjoyment of their property.
So
That's the difference.
Well, if they built a building there, it's just that.
Well, if they built a building, yeah,
They
they
built a
would
building
be-
there,
would be
and they can do
enclosed.
exactly what they're doing. If it goes right back to the bathroom every time. If you have,
Yeah.
But the
But you got to-
historic district, let them have a porta potty there forever?
Well-
Or they have to take it, have to drive around the block and set it back down? Because it has to be removed. I mean, that's the way I understood you said, they have to remove it after their event.
Yeah. Can't
Can't
be
be
there
permanent.
24/7.
Right, yeah, well, that's,
The
okay.
historic, ask the question, but they like the fact that if it was gonna be there, even on a temporary basis, it was shielded, the way the plan shows.
So if they're gonna, if they're out of town, and somebody else is coming in, how much they have to notify you for this toilet there?
I will tell you, I do not have the time to chase porta johns. So as far as, this would be, no, I'm being perfectly serious here. We're spending a lot of time on porta johns, and
Right.
I will say that it would be complaint driven. If the neighbors have problems with noise, if the neighbors have problems with trash, if the neighbors have problems with a porta john that they're looking at or getting a whiff of, I don't know, or the lighting, they report to us and we respond, just like any violation. In the business district, the back of the buildings that we don't see when we're going down Main Street or Pitt Street or Commerce, that's where I get complaints all the time. People aren't even aware of it. But neighbors who live in the apartments upstairs, they see trash or they see stuff, and it's complaint driven, and I do not go around looking for violations. I do not have the time. And in this case, it would be the same thing. This is a little more visible, would it be an open green space? But I wouldn't be looking to, they didn't move the porta john, I'm gonna write a ticket. It's not what I'm gonna do.
Okay, we beat this horse to death.
I think so.
I make a motion, we deny, based on the bathrooms, and there's other reasons, if anybody wants to add to the motion, but I just believe it's bad fit, and on that triangle, on three sides of it, there's residences, and it's awful vague what's going to be going on there and how it's going to be managed, and I just don't think it's a good fit, I'm sorry.
I have some questions before we go to motion.
Up so.
Okay. On the narrow side, there, and I'm sorry, my eyes aren't that good and I can't read the descriptions that are written here.
Ron, you want to be rude?
No, I don't think that's not where you, thanks. There are four like circular things there,
Mm-hmm.
tables.
Tables, yeah.
And then there's a angular, like, you know, whited out on the. It's like a V, it's like a V. It's white.
Mm-hmm. It's a bench built in.
A bench,
Yeah,
okay.
yep.
And I love the idea of the tree there, and it'd be a big, you know, specimen tree, but you got that utility pole there.
Yeah, yeah, I don't think when Dave put that
You took the
tree
picture?
there, he didn't put the telephone pole there,
Yeah.
so I don't think he took
Yeah.
that into account.
Okay, well, that's a conflict, one, you know,
Yeah.
we like trees, but,
Yeah,
well,
the tree probably will.
the town electric guy's not gonna like that.
Probably not.
No.
And if you could describe the fence materials, again, I can't,
Wood.
It's all wood.
Pressure treated wood, yeah.
pressure treated wood, there's
He's got it painted.
other things in, like, different painted woods, that are
It's just
smaller
accent.
pieces?
Yeah, it's just accent.
Okay,
like
okay,
2
so
inches.
it's all wood?
It's all wood,
and
just
it's painted,
accented paint.
and it's pressure treated?
Yeah.
Okay. I got my concerns about those pergola things, staying straight, staying up. There's a structural issue there that you might want to look into before you go diving into it.
Okay.
Those connections would have to be approved
You're
by
gonna,
the inspector.
gonna need a lot of customized fittings to pull that off,
Okay.
and that would be very cost prohibitive. That's all I have.
What flexibility do we have on changing the upper design of that pergola?
Oh, I think you have plenty. I just question the structure staying not just up, but continually straight. And I mean, you've got one support, and then all this other stuff hanging off of there. it looks like maybe 5 or 6 feet off of one side, and there's no, unless somebody specs something I haven't seen, there's no way to hold all that upright. Just a word to the wise.
You can't put concrete in the hole and,
Huh?
if you put concrete in the hole or close it.
I'm not worried about that, I'm just, there's too much cantilever going on. There's way too much cantilever for the amount of purchase that you have on a 4x4 or 6x6. And to maintain its integrity.
Sure.
And you got a whole bunch of them in a line, and if they all start going like this, you're not gonna be happy. Right, I'm done.
You guys have anything else, John?
No.
Anybody want to second his motion? Anybody want to make another motion to approve, or?
I'd like to make that motion, but I'm stuck on the bad thing, and until you can come back and tell us you got it solved.
Yeah, I respect that.
And I see where you're in a time frame. We also have meetings like a week or two after, like next week, if that's.
Yeah, we can accommodate you.
We'll come back whenever you have the answers for us.
I can have the answer for you tomorrow afternoon.
What would answer we looking for?
Yeah, that's
That,
kind of
that
what I
you're,
would.
that they're willing to do it, that it can happen, that, you know.
The permanent structure or the porta potty? Which one were you?
Well, that you're gonna do it, that you're gonna provide, you know, to me, it's like, when are we asking them to provide that?
Right, I'm just trying to be very specific.
Me too, I don't think
We've
I have
already
that
agreed
specific.
that we would provide the temporary bathroom during our weekend events, so if that's what you're asking for, we've already agreed that we
Okay,
would
and
do
then you
that.
could make that part of the motion.
Uh-huh.
If you're asking when will be the time that we'll build a permanent bathroom,
Well, I'm not.
I don't
I'm
know,
not
that's
there.
what, I think
I'm
we
not
were
there.
defining what
No.
what we would be coming back with.
And what you have is a porta potty that's got a shield around the fence.
Yeah, privacy fence around it.
So the vision thing is gone.
Right.
That's the idea.
Just have a problem, somebody parks there, and the truck can't come pick it up.
That's
something like that.
And
That's the other.
the gate totally at that.
Well, but he's saying
If somebody's parked there, when the guy comes to service it.
That's what tow trucks for. It's their property.
I think the problem is here, you guys are you're breaking ground, and it's all new to all of us, and we have a responsibility, and we're trying to do our job.
I respect that.
You know,
I do.
I mean,
I respect all your opinions on this, and we're just trying to do what we can with this, and if it doesn't pass, I mean, obviously we'll be disappointed, but, I mean, this is the project that we came up with, and so this is unfortunately just where we are, so I respect all your opinions, and, you know, if it gets approved, I mean, we're gonna take care of the property, and if it doesn't, then, you know, another project will come along behind us, I'm sure, so.
So I guess like if the bathroom was a sticking point, that's been basically solved in my mind. Newt has his own sticking point of being in the community. Were there other issues that anyone else in this board had?
Well, what's your problem? Is it the structural, they wouldn't let him build if it wasn't structurally sound, or?
What, the bathroom?
Yeah,
No.
the plans would have to be
Stop
submitted.
it.
Yeah, because, I mean, and I'm concerned that what we would approve here as a structure, you're not gonna be able to afford to build, or even be able to build.
No, and Mr. Hines and I already had that discussion, where I said, fence permit is one thing.
Right.
Pergola,
That's a different
because
thing.
of uplift,
Overhead.
because of uplift.
Yeah.
I said, the inspector's gonna wanna see certain, connections, you know, like bolt through, and like you say, support the cantilever. And he said that Mr. Quillen, the architect, would prepare drawings that showed those connections. So I'd have them more detailed before I ever gave him a building permit, if he got approved.
Okay.
Because
We already had that discussion.
We would want the pergola no
Mine was
matter
where I had,
what.
mine was where I had.
We would want the pergola as some type of sound resistance for the neighborhood.
That's not.
Also, part of my,
Something.
part of my objection was that it sets a bad precedent, I think, too. I think that's important to note. I mean, I just don't think it, you know, we can have every vacant commercial lot turned into a party lot.
Yeah, they are on the edge. They're like right in between, you know, town and everything happening. And there's people that live there, you know, they deal with those things, same kind of things. how many times a year that when the town goes crazy.
Are they though? Because isn't it business on both sides? So we have,
Well, yeah, but it still is a lot of residents around there. I get
Sure,
his point.
residents.
I get his point, but I think those people are kind of used to the stuff by now.
I mean, yeah, everything right
They better
around
be, or
it.
they would have moved.
Right.
The Outdoor Glow has an outdoor bar pretty much right there also.
Correct.
No.
Tiki Tim's.
The Globe,
Tim's.
where's the Globe? What do you
Right
say?
behind it.
Yeah.
Tiki Tim's.
It's literally like right behind
But that's a lot closer to the town center. You got your pops over there. There's no houses there really that are impacted, or people that live there impacted by that courtyard there. I'm just saying, you need to ask yourself, as everybody here does, would you want this in your front or backyard? That's my question. That's what impact this kind of thing has. If it was in a totally B2 spot with businesses all around, I wouldn't have any heartburn with it. But you got people there, you got a man with a letter lives right there, he's got a whole lot of concerns. And
And that's why I think it's important to read the 100+ other letters in support.
but they don't live in proximity to that, and they're not
They live
impacted
pretty
by, they're not
close.
impacted by it
But
necessarily.
Patrick doesn't live there, he's the building owner.
Right,
Jeff Oxer, who does live there, wrote a letter of support.
But aren't we only talking about really making noise until 9 o'clock on a Friday, 10, whatever it is, on a potential Friday, Saturday, Sunday? The rest of the days, this just becomes a beautified park that Berlin's not paying for.
Exactly.
Correct?
Exactly.
Yeah. You guys are giving a lot. I get it.
I mean, that's why we were trying to keep these costs down.
Right.
Because we basically have to make the mortgage in 4 months. You know?
Taking a lot of responsibility.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, that's why I've presented this, and all of the concerns are valid, and I respect them, because they are valid concerns. So, I've presented it as is. We've already heard all of what we have to say about it, really. So, it's really up to you to decide if this is the future that you want Berlin to have, or, or if you want to see another project there.
I'll make a motion to approve it, as long as we don't have any issues with having the portable bathroom there, that it's shielded, that the supplier has constant access. Like, if you have it there, maybe you just need to block off one of those parking spaces. So they have access, that guy has access, because they come at 5 in the morning sometimes.
Yeah, we could
You know?
close off that
Close
parking
off that
spot.
one parking spot. And that's, that's not available when there's a function or either the toilet's there. But I mean, I think you guys are giving a lot. I think it would be a neat place all the time.
So I'd like to see it contingent to Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah.
Because I know what you're
some
getting at.
contingents. Yeah. That anybody, I think there's, Newt has issues that I concur with. There are, privacy and noise problems. And that we need to establish some kind of hours. Do you have anything in mind?
I mean, if it's 9 or 10 on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I'm not
I think
sure.
9 is late enough.
Okay.
Yeah, even for us.
So you at 9 o'clock Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday through Thursday, it's not, it's, once again, it's a park thing.
Yeah. Is that good?
We'd probably be even earlier on a Sunday too.
Yeah, Sunday.
Yeah, it's not gonna Thursday, Sunday.
Does that work?
And, I mean, if you wanted to add non-amplified music, I mean,
Yeah, that
we
too.
could throw that in there, because just so.
Doesn't that come into
I think you
something
need-
else anyway?
There is a noise over
Yeah,
there.
but we'll put it in there anyway, just to cover all of this. Okay. I'm done with my motion.
You done with your motion? Anybody like to second
I mean, I'll second that.
the motion? Anybody all in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
4-1. Good luck.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Good luck. We're gonna help if you need.
She rolled out.
He must have got on.
Hey, well, like I said.
Hit the gavel, son.
We don't get a motion.
I'm just standing up. Gotta go to the porta potty.
You gotta go downstairs in the morning.
I don't,
All right, I have one quick question on the the Franklin Street thing, you sent us all the copies,
Yep.
is that $100 a day or just one time?
$100 first day, $200 each successive day.
Is there any action going on with it?
I doubt it.
So it's $200 each?
If history's any tell, no. We'll be ringing up a bill for it.
So you're gonna bill,
Is that
you
then?
can just write you a check and not have to go to court eventually, right? Or-
That's correct.
Okay, but it's a $200 a day?
It's 100, the initial, the way
Initial
the
day.
code reads, and then 200 for each successive day that the violation continues.
And he's still in violation?
Well, I just wrote the thing yesterday.
I know.
Now I'm gonna have to,
Bye, Ivy.
I guess,
Bye, Newt.
thank you, Ivy.
Bye, guys. See ya.
I guess I'll have to figure out a way, either I'm writing it every week or I'm writing it every day, I don't know. So we'll see what the response is.
We should auto pen.
Motion to adjourn.
Anybody have anything?
No, I got a question for Dave. The old Southern States building, we approved the site plan down there some time ago. Is that addition on the back of the building, did we approve that?
Yeah, it's on the site plan.
We did?
It's on the building plan.
We did.
Yeah.
What is it?
Storage?
Is it built to code?
Yeah, we just had inspections out there for his final, and he's got conditions he's still got to fix, but that wasn't one of them.
Will it be side?
Yeah, he wants inside. And then, that was one, and there's sharp edges on there. There's several items on that list.
Okay, so you're on.
He's got a temporary 30-day, he wanted to be open for Mother's Day. So we rushed the inspector over there, and he said, "You're not ready." And then he came back, he paid a re-inspection fee, and he said, "Well, I'll let you get a temporary for 30 days. He told me, so I gave him a 30-day last Friday.
You're on it, that's all we need.
Yes.
Is there drinks there?
No, I don't think he has a liquor license.
I feel like I saw that.
Motion to adjourn.
Who's that?
Second, son.
Second.
Speak up.
Matt, I don't know.
No, it's fine, I just, whatever, I
It
think,
wouldn't be,
I thought I saw something in the Worcester County, like the permit or the license.
it could be. And I'll tell you-
I'm just wondering.
I'll tell you why I say that.
Ron, you in
Because
favor?
liquor control board never
Ron
consulted
is
me.
ready.
Alright.
Motion to adjourn.
I have to find out about it and then call them.
Yeah, okay.
And you,
You think it, no, you think you can fuck it.
see, they know that.
Hey,